Hey, everybody. Hey. We're back. It's Current Cinema, as you know and love it, with the two of us.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff. I'm joined by Kyle. And
Hello.
This is a special episode, much like the last one we did together, because we're just going to revisit the year that was, 2023, while it's on everybody's brains in February.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, like you may go, hey, guys, y'all are late. No, this is calculated because of award season or something.
Yeah, there's award shows happening around this time of the year.
I'm just saying, like, it was purposeful and not a product of laziness and not being able to do it until now. Absolutely not.
I'm like the least lazy. People could probably tell by looking at me. I'm the least lazy person.
I didn't show up in my pajamas today. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, I did, but I didn't.
I'm totally wearing khakis.
Yeah. I don't even know what pants are, so you're lucky this is a shoulders up podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Why I chose this shirt. It's very deliberate to make people think that I would guess, or not guess, to make people think that I would dress more sophisticated in the bottom half too, but no.
Yeah, right.
I'm doing the weekend update
floral
thing.
Design on the bottom half also. You just have a onesie of just
that. This is actually a secret surprise onesie.
It's a romper.
Anyway, we're just going to get into it. We're going to do similar to what we did with our most anticipated movies of 2024. I don't know if any of those have come out yet, by the way. I think the first one of my most
definitely not seen a movie in theaters yet, so
I guess Dune is the first one in our collective most anticipated list.
Which I wanted to say this off air, but we're here now, so who cares? Two separate reviews for Dune 2 said this is going to be remembered like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yes.
Two separate ones. Like it was.
I'm so excited, dude.
Hearing it once, I was like, yeah, okay. Like this guy liked it. Hearing it a second time, I go, oh, okay, we're all about to watch something super magical.
Yeah.
They both arrived at the same cultural
for
moment,
Helm's Deep, but like a whole like
slow as thy knife that chips the blade style, that type of stuff.
I think the first one for me comes out next week. That's on my most anticipated list. It's Drive Away Dolls. It's one of the Coen brothers.
Very excited for that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Dune is the week after. So that's kind of things are kind of ramping up. But January and February, for the most part, has been pretty dead for me.
Same. Yeah. I'm at a record low of movies watched. I know you're probably not because you just did the Cannes.
Yes,
the
I did Sundance. Yeah.
Not Cannes, Sundance.
That
buffs those numbers up pretty good.
It does.
But
especially
I'm at like 6 movies this year.
Making it rain
like
numbers.
Not new either. Like these are just new movies.
Just movies, just in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, a lot of it was homework for this list for this episode, and there was still more to get to. But I know you'll represent some of the ones that I couldn't.
Maybe.
So
I don't know. I didn't really watch that many last year.
That's a lot. That's probably.
I just lied. I just lied to everybody to their faces.
Like 1,000 movies, yeah.
Yeah, something stupid. I think I logged somewhere else in a separate list the amount of movies that came out that year, and like the amount of movies that I watched that came out in a given year. Because it's not always accurate on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
It's a U.S. whatever region. It's not always accurate to that. Where the hell is that list? Oh, viewing log 2023 releases. I'm at 195.
Ooh.
So I've seen some movies that came out last year. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
that's 2 movies a week,
I can't do that math, so I'll just take your word for it.
Isn't it like 52 weeks in a year or something like that?
I don't know.
Oh, it's 4. That's
I don't
4
know.
movies a week. Okay, I don't know. Dude,
don't
listen to me about math or how things work or... This isn't a math podcast, I'm definitely halfway to being an idiot. So
Solve for X. My number 10 is a movie that... No, I'm kidding. Give you an equation. It stars this person and directed by this person. Solve for X.
Creed -1 or Creed 4 -1 is 3, and I'm like, you like Creed 3 that much? That would be my takeaway. I wouldn't even be confused by the math. I was like, really? Okay, yeah.
Was that a 2023 movie, by the way?
Okay, yeah, it is. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What a long year.
Remember when we all liked Jonathan Majors like a year ago? That happened. That was a thing. Just a year ago, we all were like, this guy's really going places.
That is crazy. That was last year. That's so bananas. I'll just start us off at number 10. We're going to go 10 through 2, probably.
Okay.
Oh, go 10 through 3, probably, I would imagine. I don't know. It depends on what... Because I feel like we're going to share a lot of our top favorites.
Yeah.
But it depends on the order of them. If we can suss it out, then we'll go back and talk about our honorable mentions and stuff like that.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, my number 10 is How to Blow Up a Pipeline. This movie taught me how to blow up a pipeline. So obviously it's 10 out of 10. That's what you wanted out of the movie.
The
It's as
pipeline blows
advertised.
up, like you're so on a list, dude.
Dude, yeah. And you know what? The movie was like, hey, that's okay. It's okay to be on a list.
It's okay to blow up pipelines. All right.
The I don't know. The movie is more. It's more gray than that. It's not necessarily taking one side over the other. I think. I mean, there's a clear statement being made about the environmental hazards to a pipeline and stuff like that. Obvious things that that has been part of the conversation forever since pipelines have existed on this scale. But yeah, the movie is like, so I mean, it's not taking the stance of like, you know what you should do? You should just like blow them up. You should just like
yeah,
just like blow them up. It's kind of like more exploring what could lead to such extreme measures, more or less.
Yeah.
But they do make sure, like, the people that are involved in it, they do make sure it's like it's like a ragtag crew. It's kind of like its own version of a heist movie in a sense, where it's these very, very different people from different walks of life coming together to blow up a pipeline in their town. And seeing that come together is actually kind of fun.
That's cool.
And there's some really, really stressful moments like that reminded me of like Sicario and stuff, where they're like out in the desert and they're like trying not to get caught, and they're trying to minimize damage to the environment. They're trying to blow it up in a very environmentally friendly way.
Sure. Yeah. As
what minimizes the damage to the rest of the rest of the land. And also obviously no casualties. That was they set hard and fast rules and like how they were going to do it. Yeah, it's just a great cast of like, I don't know that you'd recognize anybody outright. Maybe you'd recognize them from some shows that you might have watched at one point, but there's nobody that major in it. But great performances. I love it felt like it was like a handheld type of camera work, where it felt like it was like guerrilla style, like it was
cool,
just kind of on the ground with them,
it's kind of very thematic to the
yeah exactly.
Yeah.
And then like seeing the way that they wrapped everything up and like how they were going to quote unquote get out of it was really cool too. Just a damn good movie, man. The thing is with a lot of my 10, maybe half of them a lot of them are movies that I'm like, I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't something that great,
Yeah. Nice surprises can linger in the mind for sure.
Whereas a lot of them, and we'll touch on them, a lot of them are like, oh, I expected it to be great, and it over-delivered. So
yeah. There's
That's
some
fun.
of that for sure.
What's your hit me with your numero?
I kind of felt weird about this one being on my 10 for a while, because you and I have talked about this movie on the podcast here, and you and I have qualms. We have qualms with it. All right, qualms.
Qualms.
And it's Mission Impossible. Again, this would get bumped if I had seen stuff like Godzilla and stuff like that. But I feel better about having this movie on here because I've gone through quite the journey this year of just accepting how much of a dude I am and that I just like action movies a lot. Sorry to be a basic bro, but like this movie feels good to be on here for specifically the train sequence alone at the very end of the movie. Super well constructed action sequence that I had never seen shot or done quite like this before.
Yeah, that was such a cool sequence.
Very, very, very Uncharted. Very it just seemed unreal the way, because like they were really dangling and stuff and you could see the gravity of like the whole scene, and like there was something about actually figuring out a way to dangle a train or whatever they did. I really don't know what they did. that just gave it a tangible feeling to it that like, man, it's just super memorable. And I think about that sequence like a lot, the sequence where he flies off the side of the thing with the motorcycle's fine, but we all saw that like 1,000 times where the movie came out.
Dude, that was in they
blew their wad pretty hard.
Literally all the marketing. I don't know why. It's not like it didn't appear to me to be...
It didn't work either because no one went and saw this movie.
Yeah, it was in a dreadful spot right before Barbenheimer came out. It was so frustrating seeing the marketing for that, because I don't know, just watching the behind the scenes stuff, I'm like, I didn't see paparazzi. It didn't feel like they were in like a crowded. It didn't feel like they were in a crowded
They were on
space.
The side. They were literally on the side of a mountain. Like, there wasn't like a lot of people.
You didn't have
there.
to tell us
like,
that.
They leaked that. It's not even a leak. They're like, we're gonna give you all this one. I'm like, that's the climax of the movie. Like,
Remember how in like the fifth one he hangs off the side of the plane? That's the opening of the movie.
Yeah.
And like they told us that right away. He's legit hanging on the side of the plane. I'm like,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. He broke his arm or something too.
Yeah, he did something crazy. I think this. I'm trying to remember what the sixth one, the big set piece was there. I guess jumping out of the plane was a pretty big deal, and they shot it.
I know the
but they didn't.
Dubai
Again, they
building
didn't really.
One was the other was like 4, and that was the one that they showed all over the marketing as well.
Fallout had he was piloting.
He really flew that helicopter. Yeah, there's always like he really did that. Like,
he really did.
Angle. Yeah, we know, dude. We've been watching these movies for 30 years. Yeah. Like we know he really does it. Like
we know he's getting more and
more.
Stop
selling that. Like I get it. Yeah.
Did you know he really became an underground fighter in like a illegal fighting ring and actually like learned how to fight really big guys for real and didn't even choreograph the fights? He just beat them up for real. If they said that next, I'd be like, okay, sure.
Yeah, sure, I guess. Yeah, all right.
But yeah, that movie is super fun, dude.
It's very fun. Yeah, there's other big moments like the sniper scene in the sand that was just like super memorable, very visual. Yeah. You know, like I think back on that movie very fondly, and I don't really think about a lot of the silly stuff that you and I kind of have problems with.
Yeah,
that we weirdly shared like almost like point for point. I was like, yeah, it was kind of dumb. Yeah, why is he like that? Yeah, why is the bad guy doing that? Yeah, like it's just there's a lot of like dumb stuff, but yeah, there were a lot of great moments that you know, like. Tom Cruise is right. Like this type of movie is the type of reason you go to a movie to see in theaters.
Yes.
I don't know why people didn't care about this one. I couldn't tell you. I really don't have my finger on the pulse of why this one didn't work for people or people didn't care, you know, but it's such a disrailment that they're not even calling it part 2. Like the next movie's not called part 2. I don't think they're just going to call it something else.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to call it then.
They don't want people to be like, oh, I didn't see that one, so I'm not going to see this one. So they're like changing things around or whatever is what I heard.
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 10. Very fun movie. But we'll get to better ones for sure.
My number 9 is, and there is the concept for those that haven't heard us do a top 10 before. There is a concept called pushing it real good, where if one of us has a movie I'm about to say higher, we can elect to move that conversation down the road, kick it down the road.
Just so we don't talk about it twice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said, my number 9 might be higher for you. It's The Killer.
Oh yeah, we're gonna push that a little bit. We're gonna push that real good.
All right, so we're pushing that one. I love that movie. Can't wait to talk about it. What's your number 9?
Okay. My number 9 is I wanted to get a little horror represented on this list, so I put Evil Dead Rise on here. Oh boy, yeah. I've talked to a lot of people who just hated this movie, and I didn't dig. I was like, were you a fan of the original? I was like, okay, I don't have anything to say to you. I love this.
Better at just walking away from that.
Like okay. My willingness to like explain myself is non-existent these days. So right. I just like to think why, and I'm like because it brought enjoyment. Brought enjoyment to my life for a fleeting moment in this cripplingly horrible life that we all live. Speaking of cripplingly horrible, though, this movie has horrible things happen to kids in this movie, which I did not think they were going to pull the trigger on at all. Movies are pretty tame about, going after like taboo subjects like kid mutilation. Not so much this movie. And that's already dangerously close to spoilers, so I don't want to dive too deep on that one. But there's a keyhole scene that we talk about. We've gushed about it on this podcast before. There's just like all the things I'm looking for, and it sounds silly, like I need a chainsaw in an Evil Dead movie,
Yeah.
I kind of need a fountain of blood moment in an Evil Dead movie. Like there's some things that I just have to have that are always in them, and like
almost comical amount of blood, like
and it delivers on all of it, and they do a really good job of like bringing in all of the properties into one thing. They introduce the idea of multiple books. There's 3 books. We've seen 3 different reboots, if you will, of this franchise. Not reboots, but like tellings. 3 different tellings of this. The cold open is awesome, and the way that the cold open plays into like how the story plays out for the whole movie is really cool. I just like that playing with time and stuff like that.
That was a great visual too of the person floating and the title card comes up. I'm like, whoa. This is badass.
Yeah. This movie is such a vibe, dude. And what's her face from Vikings, who plays like the evil mom in this, is
she's
just so great. She's so wonderful in this. And I like her sister in it too. She's kind of like the the unsung badass.
Yeah, I'd never seen her before.
Me neither.
I'm pretty sure she's like, I think there's a lot of Australian talent in the movie or something. I think the filmmaker might be Australian. I don't know. But Australians do usually, sometimes come out, not usually, sometimes come out with some top shelf horror stuff.
Yeah,
I think Talk to Me was the other Australian one.
Oh, I didn't realize that was Australian. That's cool.
Think it is? I don't know.
Yeah,
well, they talk with accents. Hello.
Yeah.
Maybe it's British. I don't know.
It's Queen's language.
Yes, hello. Yes, I'm the Queen.
Hello. I'm gonna mess with your hat because you're a prisoner guard or whatever.
Don't move or you're fired.
You're going to be fired. Oh, the Queen, she's dead. Anyways, Evil Dead Rise is super good. I like this movie a lot, and I just, I think I say this too much, but like, we get good horror these days, but I want great horror, and I would call this great horror.
And I agree. It was
it lives up to a horror legacy that's very hard to match. Like I know Evil Dead kind of is more in the campy horror kind of realm of stuff, but like the last two have been more straight horror with injections of campiness that kind of keep it true to the brand. But yeah, this movie was great for me.
Oh, gross! Blow my nose.
Yeah, I was gonna say do it in the mic. Oh. Yeah. So that was my number 9.
Why do I have so many liquids in my nose? Weird.
Well, yeah, the bodies are just leaky faucets.
Did I through a straw just start drinking through my nose suddenly? How did this happen? I don't understand. Life is an enigma.
Are all the holes connected in my face? What's going on?
Doesn't make any sense. Eye holes connected to the butthole. Wait a minute.
So yeah, they're all connected.
Evil Dead Rise I did have on my on Hanmen's for quite a while, and then I saw more and more awards movies and stuff, awards bait movies, and some of them really deserve awards. What can I say? It's almost like sometimes I know what they're talking about. I don't know.
Statue.
Yeah, get that statch. So my number 8 is not being pushed. It's I don't think you've seen it yet. Dream Scenario.
No. That's one of the I'll say 3 movies now because I actually forgot about that movie completely. That's another one that I know would probably make my list. It sounds like my type of weird.
It's so nutty. It's like Charlie Kaufman wrote it, more or less. That's what it feels like.
God, what a sell!
But it's like a Norwegian Charlie Kaufman. I don't know. It's hard to
I don't know. That's somehow a better sell. I don't know. So it's going to be weirder, Charlie Kaufman.
It's even weirder. Yeah, because he has like those I don't know, Nordic countries, at least of the movies that I've seen that are comedies, have such a dry way of telling their story, and like especially in comedies, they're like just like that's the joke, and if you get it, you're not really gonna laugh that hard, but your brain will appreciate it. Like I mean,
sure.
But don't get me wrong, there's some fart jokes in this movie too. Like there is some laugh out loud moments. A lot of that's through the awkward scenes. But yeah, the premise is like I think I've talked about before. How everybody in the movie starts dreaming of Nicolas Cage's character. And the dreams kind of start very passively, like whether or not they're having a bad dream or a good dream, he just walks by and he doesn't really do anything. They're just kind of like the way that everybody describes a dream is like, yeah, you just kind of walk by or you just stood there. Like it was just, that's it.
Yeah.
So that's how it starts, which is still in itself a weird phenomenon. But there are, I don't know. The plot is more about like how everybody chose because it is a choice how you interpret your dreams. There's not really anything there. On a subconscious level, sure. Maybe if you're thinking about all day, you're thinking about some doctor's appointment that's coming up. Of course, you're probably going to dream about it. That's just the nature of your brain. But sometimes it's just chaos, and that's it. There's no rhyme or reason. And it could just be the movie didn't really explore it much because they kind of want you to draw your own conclusions, but it could just be a chain reaction of like everybody saying I'm dreaming of this guy, and then suddenly they start dreaming of him too.
Sure, yeah. Subconscious, like
yeah, exactly. It could just be something as simple as that. But it is interesting how quickly it spirals out of control, and how the dreams that he's in start to get a little more violent and malicious and stuff like that. So like there is like a slight horror tinge to it, but it's not full horror or anything like that.
I gotcha.
Yeah. It's more comedy than anything else. Especially there's one scene where like one girl has like a sex dream with him, and she tries to pursue it in real life the way that the dream was laid out, and it's just so freaking funny. It's one of the funniest scenes all year. Him trying to be cool, but he's Nick Cage in this movie is like just some nerdy professor who loves like ant. I think it's ant biology or something like that. A very specific kind of biology. So he's super nerdy, and he's like, yeah, you want to, like, he's just kind of like, you want to have sex with me, really? Like, he's just got this weird affectation, and he's just so nerdy. No freaking like charisma at all. Like,
yeah.
So like the fact that a girl was like, yeah, I had a sex dream and I want to try it. And he's so not equipped for that. It's just very entertaining.
I like when Nick Cage plays like a, kind of a goofball.
Yeah, it's against his it's more of what he did in like Unbearable Weight of Massive
Talent. He's not playing Castor Troy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's playing, exactly.
It's more like adaptation type of acting, stuff like that. Yeah, I loved it. So what's your number 8?
Number 8. You and I watched this movie together. It might be a push. I don't know. It's Blackberry.
Oh yeah, that's a hold on. It's a slight push.
Okay. Yeah.
Very slight, so I had to play a little bit of it. All right. So my number 7 is this would be a push if you saw it. Godzilla -1.
Oh, I almost said a Godzilla Asian accent, but I caught myself.
Yeah.
Well, wow.
That's called being progressive, dude.
Yeah, I'm woke, dude. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just love the piss out of this movie. I don't know what to tell everybody.
Yeah, I am a gigantic fan of kaiju movies and Godzilla movies, and the fact that I didn't see this in theaters like makes me want to strangle somebody. But I'll try and bat that away, just like I did my almost racist joke I just made. So we're all getting better out here, Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what more I can say. I think I mean you're already convinced rightfully that you're gonna love it, and nothing I say is gonna make
you brought up the most interesting part, which was about like having something to say about like the war and the state of Japan and caring about the humans, and I'm like, what? Like that's the stuff I'm like, we don't do that in Godzilla movies, but that's the thing I'm most interested in. Is
the movie starts opens up on this kamikaze pilot. He lands his plane on I think it is one of those stations where they would fly to if they had a mechanical issue, and a bunch of the people that were enlisted that are there would like fix their planes or whatever. So he flew there and he was like, oh, there's a mechanical issue, I can't go out. And then when the mechanics looked, they saw his plane, they were like, there's nothing wrong with your plane. So So at that point in time in Japanese culture, that was like shameful, like for you to not just go give your life for your country. And then Godzilla happened. like the movie opens with a Godzilla sequence, and it's crazy. And he's kind of like, not that he's small, but he's smaller compared to how he ends up later on in the movie and stuff like that. But yeah, they're definitely telling two stories. Over like, I mean, the main one obviously is Godzilla being a threat to all of the country.
Yeah.
But them coming out of the war, trying to establish a new way of life, and kind of like leave those old ways of celebrating kamikaze pilots and stuff like that behind. Can they do it? Like, because there's still some people old guard mind.
Yeah. Very topical to even today.
Yeah.
Generational hang-ups.
The movie does take place over several years. In that regard, so I mean, it's cool to see that explored almost entirely, like in the movie. Like, I mean, there wasn't a point. Sometimes in Godzilla, at least the Americanized version of Godzilla movies, I'm like, can we stop with the human shit? Like, can we get back to the big giant lizards and whatever? Like, can we just get back to the big monsters? And in this one, I'm like, can we get back to like the action stuff is fantastic, but it's almost like I want to spend more time with these human characters. They're just so well written.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong, it delivers on spectacle big time. Like, people on TikTok do this inconsiderate thing where they're taking like they're filming some of the movie scenes from their phone and putting on TikTok.
Someone if I saw someone doing that.
Dude, it's so annoying. But fortunately, because I see movies almost immediately when they come out, like nothing's been spoiled for me yet. Nothing that matters. Like if Madam Web gets spoiled for me, I don't give a shit. I'm never going to see that movie.
Why not? Wait, why not? Why?
Oh, I mean, it's amazing. Never mind. Yay.
It might be better than Morbius. It might be. So.
I thought it made Morbius look like a masterpiece. I thought that was
I don't know. Yeah, I guess it depends on what side of the internet you're on. Yeah.
Yeah, so like there's one scene in particular that kept coming up on my algorithm on TikTok that's related to one of the big final action sequences, and I'm like,
yeah,
I usually I automatically scroll and I don't want to endorse this because I hate that practice of just filming a movie. But every time I'm glued to that scene, every time it would come across my feed, I'm like, I gotta watch this again. It's just such a great scene.
And the algorithm is like, he likes spoilers.
He really loves this. The way people film movies in theaters.
Yeah, we're gonna give him more
on their phone. Gonna give him way more of that. For me, it was this year's Top Gun Maverick, last year's Top Gun Maverick.
Which is high praise.
High praise.
Yeah, can you, if you will?
It's high praise. Whoa, you're dreaming about me. Whoa. For those not watching on YouTube, I have a Nick Cage mask I keep putting up to the screen. Anyway.
Yeah. In reachable distance.
Somehow, some way. I have like snacks near me and a Nick Cage mask. That's all I got.
Yeah, the two necessities. If you will.
and in life in general, that's true. In terms of like Top Gun Maverick I would say had more spectacle than human stuff going on, like human stories. I don't know if I got shortchanged on that.
I don't feel like I got a human thing out of unless you can remind me of something.
I mean, there's some stuff with Maverick and Goose's kid, but that's about it, you know.
Right. No, I guess the moment with Val Kilmer was pretty nice.
Oh my god, that scene killed me.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah.
That's true. That's fair.
But yeah, it is 1,000% a spectacle movie.
Yeah, and this one is like, no, let's get really psychologically deep for a freaking Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
And then there's that whole sequence of him like more or less nuking Japan. It's a crazy sequence. Of Godzilla actually going to the mainland and wreaking havoc, much like the old days, and you hear the classic theme come in. But it's like with modern CG and like, dude, it's pretty amazing what they were able to pull off by, just crunch culture. By just crunching really good.
Good.
That's what they were able to accomplish.
Good for those crunchers. Good.
Yeah, they crunched real hard, those visual effects artists. Worth it though, to me and my American dollar.
When you see a movie like that, I go, you know what? I think crunching's okay. You know.
You know what? Human suffering, not that bad. Yeah. So that's my number 7. What's your number 7?
My number 7 is, surprisingly enough, especially with our kind of attitude about Marvel lately, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Freaking awesome. That is just outside my top 10. Literally number 11.
I ended up liking this movie a lot. And I was going into it kind of like, let's go see this movie. And I came out of it like, James Gunn's really good at what he does. I forgot about that. But I think the world is lukewarm on Marvel right now. But so lukewarm that a movie like this can come out, and we're like, oh yeah, that movie came out, because this is definitely one of the better Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Period. I don't know how much of a hot take that is, but I think it's got a lot of heart. You got some of the best laughs in the entire series. Like, I think this is probably the hardest I've laughed outside of Blackberry, which we'll get to soon, this year in a movie. Good laughs, like big laughs, not like like big laughs, you know.
Like, I guess that'd be kind of funny.
Yeah. And the action was great, and
oh my gosh,
it's the end of an era. We're done with James Gunn being a Marvel guy. Now he's a DC guy, and and I think he's gonna kill it over there. I think this if anything is proof that he's got it,
Yeah. And you would think a Suicide Squad movie would be proof too, but some people might just call that.
People don't remember that movie came out. Like I'll always say the Suicide Squad, and people are like, "That David Ayer movie." I go, no one's ever talking about that movie when they say the Suicide Squad ever. Like, stop bringing that movie up.
Stop bringing up that horrible movie.
We're obviously talking about the James Gunn one if that movie gets brought up. Like, why are you dense?
But like some people might, in a cheap way, call it, it's just an R-rated version of Guardians of the Galaxy. But I feel like he's gonna bring so much different energy to Superman.
Yeah,
we're gonna see it in like such a refreshing way.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's gonna be the case too. And I know people are like butthurt because of Snyder and stuff like that. But like, this is an upgrade, everybody.
This is a major upgrade.
So obviously an upgrade to me. Yeah. Like it's inconceivable how people are like somehow figuring out a way to like poke holes.
Have you seen what Snyder's done after DCU? Like, let's
could show you a picture of my.
We should be grateful that he's not involved anymore.
That. Yeah, man, I like this movie a lot. And I liked a lot of the key like character moments like that. If I never see these characters again, I'm fine because it does feel like a nice bow on everything. So even though I know we're gonna see, all these.
I love the all the rocket stuff, as tragic as it was. I don't know. I just loved exploring all that.
Yeah, I really liked what's his face from Peacemaker as the High Evolutionary. I thought he was a great bad guy.
Yeah,
I think it's so easy to hate somebody who like tortures animals, but also he was like an engaging bad guy. That's a cheat sometimes where it's like, he kicks puppies. You're like, fuck this guy. Yeah. Like that's an easy in to like hate a villain, but like as you get to know him across the movie, you're like, this guy's just despicable, and like I like that. I like having a real good
they
bad
leaned
guy.
into. There was no like Thanos moment of like, well, he has a point. He was
I
always
like that.
just
I like that. They didn't at all try and humanize him, which I'm like, I like a complex bad guy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, me too.
I also like just a bad guy.
Yeah.
Why is he bad? He just likes it. That's what he just enjoys being bad. Like that's what he does, So I like that too.
Everybody's inferior to him. That's it.
Yeah,
period.
I don't need Thanos to give me a monologue about like how he's doing it for the great. I don't give a shit, Like I don't care. I've seen that so many times, So it was refreshing to.
I love that he wrote in a line for Star-Lord to like shut down a monologue of that.
I do. I love that. Great. I cannot listen to another. It's so good. Yeah, great laughs in this movie, man. That whole sequence where they go to that planet, like with the animal people, is just like super hilarious.
That was
a lot
fantastic.
of good laughs there. Drax didn't make me mad the whole movie. That's a pretty big plus,
Yeah. This, in Volume 2,
even Mantis can feel like kind of annoying
Gunn,
sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes she can be.
Yeah.
I feel like James Gunn got his Drax and Mantis thing out of the way with the Christmas special, maybe.
Yeah, which I liked them there too. Even
I like that
there.
too.
Yeah, it's just like that was kind of the beginning of like, oh, I can stand these characters again. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the sequence that ended up involving Nathan Fillion and like that group of people on that one planet.
That's I got one of those too. I mean, he's up to his dumb, like compadre or whatever. I like that gag.
That whole sequence was really fun.
And not bending on the Gamora stuff was great. I just love that.
I love that too.
You don't like they're in love because they're soulmates.
Suddenly they're in
Fuck
love
off.
now.
I can't.
They've by the time the movie starts, they've spent years apart. It's just not.
Yeah, and they are different people. Like it's a nature nurture conversation. If you want to try and inject some smartness into a movie that doesn't need it, but like that is a different Gamora because of the way that she was, grew. So. Yeah, anyways, it's a fun movie or whatever. Marvel sucks. Cool.
Sorry, I'm looking at work stuff at the same time, and I'm like, oh my god, blown away by how stupid and lazy people are. I shouldn't be at this point. I've existed on planet Earth long enough.
Right.
But nope, it still bothers me. Anyway, my number 6, this is where I pushed Blackberry to. This is my number 6. Nice. Yeah. I loved it. That means Kyle hated it, and I loved it.
It does. That's exactly what that means. Yeah. It wasn't for Glenn Howerton. He shaved his head instead of wearing like a bald cap, and that took me out of it.
I don't know why he did that for real. He didn't have
to, me out of it.
He did took you out of it. Yeah, that's why.
It's too real. Yeah.
And Jay Baruchel acting all Jay Baruchel-y? Nah, not for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's so funny because like that should be annoying, but like it was so perfect for this movie.
It was perfect for this dynamic. Completely perfect. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I watched that again.
His buddy / the director of the movie is just aces too.
Dude, he's got
this is another one we watched together. Yeah,
we watched it together, and I that was my second time watching it, and I'm glad I did because there were so many quotable things in there. Like, that's a guy's thing. You took his thing, like at the very beginning.
Yeah.
When Jay Baruchel's fixing like the intercom thing. You're taking his thing. It's so funny. Oh my god. But yeah, that director has like such a good clueless guy face.
Yeah.
He's just he looks so derpy. He's got to be aware of it. That's why he's in the movie.
Right. I'm the only man for the job. Yeah.
Right. Nobody can make a dumb face like I can. Trust me. And with a headband on, no less.
Yeah, he was definitely he was an aesthetic for sure. Yeah.
There was definitely like a nostalgia for a time that I didn't get to play around in as well, because like I'm an IT professional now. But man, that would have been so fun.
I wasn't in the business world when Blackberries were a thing. I remember having a Blackberry. Like I was a Blackberry owner. But
it would have just been cool. Like I just mean like in the very beginning of the movie where it's like a ragtag crew and they're gaming all the time.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Parties, watching watching old movies and stuff. Obviously, they're wasting company resources, but it was like something like about that flavor of nostalgia that I was like, damn, I wish I was kind of like in adulthood at that point, so I could have, I don't know, been a part of that nerd type of culture. Like I feel like I don't know, that would have been fun to exist in. For me at least. You know, if I was a minority, it'd be a problem. But you know, you're not allowed. You're not allowed.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a funny movie, and
it's very funny. Yeah, yeah.
I
mean, it's easy to look at it and go, I don't want to watch a movie about the BlackBerry being made. Look at it less about that and more of like a time capsule movie, with a lot of comedy and like more comedy injections than there should be. You know, just it's very comedy rich. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a movie that in my list, it's probably the one I might go back to the most.
Yeah, yeah.
Out of these 10 that I'm looking at, yeah. It's just so freaking funny, man. I don't know.
Very
something about
watch.
Quotable, fast-paced movies. And then, of course, you get Michael Ironside in there to be a dick, and he's just so perfect at it. So perfect
him showing
at
up
it.
is so... I totally forgot about that. Yeah, him showing up is awesome.
Yeah, and to get him to be like an enforcer type, they cast him... Everybody that was cast in this was casted, basically, stereotype casted.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, can you come on and just do that thing?
Just do the thing that you do
Glenn
normally.
Howerton, can you like scream at people and like get really red in your face, you know? And
I'm from Waterloo. Yeah.
yeah.
So good.
Yeah, he's got some great ramp ups.
Yeah, he does.
In this movie. Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah, highly recommend this movie. Very, very, very easy watch. And maybe a good duo watch with like something like Dumb Money or something like that if you want something about.
Oh, that's a good call.
Something real, you know, but silly, you know, at the same time.
Yeah, and the pacing is good.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say Blackberry's in my opinion, a superior movie. But
that's why it's on the list. Yeah.
If you don't know Dumb Money, you don't know the story of Dumb Money at all. Which is understandable because as soon as it talks about stocks, I'm like, I don't get this at all. But if you don't know any of it, like at all, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
If you know some of it, I don't know. You might think it's okay. I don't know. But if you know all of it, it's like, what was the point of that?
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, yeah. What's your number 6?
The 6 is slotted for Pushes because this is the killer for me.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
no, it's one I pushed from you earlier because you hate this movie.
I do hate this movie. You know what? He does yoga. No.
It starts with the Tears for Fear song or whatever that song is at the very beginning. Like who gives a shit, right? The 80s? Ugh. No, that's I love this movie. I love that whole sequence when he turns on the music and is like going through his like process or whatever. The first 25 minutes of this like under 2-hour movie is just this one sequence, like where he's narrating his thing in the hotel. And it's easy to forget that because that movie, there's a lot that goes on in that movie, and that's like a fourth of the movie. It's just that like first, hotel sequence.
Yeah.
And the escape and all that stuff. This movie rocks so hard. There's some great action in this movie. For a movie with like a narration, talk about a movie that needed and deserved it, you know. I'm not usually into that type of storytelling in movies and stuff like that. Like, go back and watch Blade Runner and watch Harrison Ford, narrate his way through that pile of shit. It's a hard way to like sell a movie, but like it just really worked here. Fassbender's fucking awesome in this movie, and I just like how he like just doesn't really have like a moral compass at all. Like a couple times you see like glimpses of it, but like. All the other times, this guy's just an operator, man. This guy's just there to do the job, And I just absolutely loved it. I think it's great. Talk about a well-paced movie. That uses all of its time effectively, and it's well shot. It's David Fincher, man. Like, of course, he's gonna show up and shoot a movie shittily. Like it's a very well shot movie.
Works. Yeah, there's a excellent breakdown of the fight with the grunt or whatever he called him. The big guy.
The brute.
There we go. Yeah. There's a excellent behind the scenes, like 10 minute long thing explaining how they choreographed that and how deliberate Fincher's camera work was in that sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love when that type of stuff is
the heavy fight scene.
Like, oh, I didn't notice the camera was.
There's a lot of weight to that fight. Yeah. There's some great camera tricks in it too. Yeah, just but the way that it's like.
The sound design is like next level.
Yeah, just every punch and every like wall hit you hear, you're like, oh, that sound design is really.
Yeah, that sounds like it hurts.
Them.
Yeah.
And like I'm tired by the time that sequence is over. I'm like, oh, God, I need a nap.
They really nailed it. I love the whole. I think Fincher's idea was to, I don't know, start using household appliances in the fight. Like at one point they were gonna have him pick up one object as a weapon, and Fincher was like, "That's too threatening. Let's lean into it being like a book or something like that." He was like,
"Oh yeah,
It was like
it's Evil Dead's cheese grater situation all over again."
Yeah,
you know? It's like, how do we kill someone with something? You know,
exactly.
Laying around the house.
Like a knife is too obvious, you know.
Sure.
Anyway, it was they really thought that stuff through, and I love that the front half was like the quote unquote boring part of him explaining his everyday life as an assassin, which I was riveted by.
Me too. When he's explaining like how he's like, it's actually really boring, like my job. I'm like, okay.
And then by the time that way you feel the ramp up when it is suspenseful. You're like,
Well, you're witnessing his first failure, you know, and I like that. Like halfway through his getaway, he goes, "This is new." Like he says it to himself, and I love. That's one of my favorite lines of the year for whatever reason. It sticks out to me, where it's just like the most professional, flawless, but he's never messed up ever. That's like his pedigree, you know. And like, but he's still cool, calm, and collected about it. He's like, this is new, but I have backup plans to my backup plans to my backup plans, you know.
Right.
And, he's very methodical, and even when the movie kind of slows down near the end with like Tilda Swinton and stuff like that, it's still so engaging and riveting.
Yeah,
so.
And I felt like they earned that conversation after being such a stressful movie in the last like 2/3 of it.
I do like how she like asked for her like special whiskey because you know it's all coming to a head. So
yeah.
You bring out my good whiskey.
God damn, that movie's so good.
Fantastic movie. Yeah. I've gotten a lot of people to see this one to mixed reviews. So.
Yeah, and I've heard that too. Like I've heard that on like Reddit is really the only place because I'm off of that cesspool that is Twitter, because Twitter doesn't know how to add value to any movie that they're talking about. They just want to be a hot take machine, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's at least my experience. Is like people just want to put their hot take out there. They want people to agree with it, retweet it, get interactions with it. And then somewhere along the way, I lose what their actual opinion is. Like, did you like it or not? Because it feels like this is just a hot take machine. But anyway, on Reddit though, I was seeing kind of a similar thing where like the first comment on the thread would be like, "I love this movie. It's one of my favorites of the year," and they explain like a essay why it's great. And then the next comment that's the most upvoted would be like, second most upvoted would be like, "This is trash and here's why," or whatever. Like, and I'm like, what? I guess it's just one of those movies. I don't know. It's always disappointing. Everybody needs to agree with me all the time.
And I've heard that people were like, it was the pacing for me. I didn't like that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, this movie's got some varying miles on it for sure. I guess depending.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of people sighing through the first 20 minutes of like him chatting and waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
Like them. Yeah. Can you like be the killer?
Can you Hitman it up already? By the way, this is the best like Hitman video game movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If you're
talk about having to improvise, and he's doing all the things. He's getting the disguise, and you see him go through all the motions of having to get.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's like mundane stuff where it's like, oh, I gotta get into this like high security building. I'll go to Amazon to get like an access code scrambler.
Yeah,
which you can just buy on.
Yeah, you can just buy like a fob,
and like he just DIYs his way through stuff. Yeah, and like in ways that are like very applicable and doable in real life.
Yes,
so
they are.
That part I really like too.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So my number 5 is not on your list. It's 20 Days in Mariupol. It's the.
Well, I have a surprise for you, Jeff. No, okay.
Yeah, that would be amazing if you was. I think it is on like some streaming somewhere. I think it's on Max or something. So it's streaming now. Whatever. It's streaming somewhere. I don't know where it is. In America somewhere. But this is about the 20-day siege by Russia in Mariupol, Ukraine. And it's literally just cameras, boots on the ground, just documenting what's happening. And if a doctor or whoever decides to rant at the camera about like this is what's happening here, and whatever, he just lets it happen. Like he's just kind of capturing it. Terrifying stuff, dude. This is not the only Russian-Ukraine war movie I've seen. I saw one at Sundance that was more about the war in the Ukraine part, the part of Ukraine where it's like mostly open fields and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so there's like this is a major city. Mariupol is like a major city. Like there's a lot of residential stuff there, high rises, all that stuff. There's like the field warfare is totally different. It's like, Ukraine has drones they're sending up there. They're making their own bombs and having the drone drop it on tanks. And I don't know how they're doing it. Like, it's just crazy, the DIY effort that they're going through in Ukraine. But yeah, this one is like right at the beginning of the war. Like, I mean, I want to say in the first few months. So there's a lot of very stressful situations. It's very alarming. Obviously, there's a lot of disturbing stuff you can watch in this, but that's why I feel like it's essential viewing, because I feel like that nowadays, especially now, a lot of that's getting lost, and there's a lot of Putin dick riding going on Twitter, especially. So I'm just saying,
like
I don't.
Place to do it.
I don't get it. I just don't like. I mean.
Yeah, a guy rides on the back of a horse one time shirtless, and suddenly he's a fucking icon.
But even then, the people that are saying he's great now, back then, were making fun of him for that. So I mean, I'm just confused at this shift in the public, some of the public consciousness. It's so
we love our revisionist history. So.
Yeah, it's insane. Anyway, it's a great movie. I didn't mean to dwell into the politics land a little bit. But unfortunately, that comes with the territory of what the movie's about.
Yeah, it's with the the subject.
But it is a great, in terms of like just being a movie. Like, it's a great freaking movie.
That's cool. Is it more documentary than movie, or is it?
It's a documentary. It's a full-fledged documentary.
Yeah.
As advertised, just 20 days in that shitty environment.
Yeah.
So stressful. Whew. And I saw that like Sundance last year.
Oh, cool. Nice.
And I was like, oh, this is one of my favorite movies of the year. Like it never left my list since January of the year. But yeah, exactly. What's your number 5?
My number 5 ended up being Killers of the Flower Moon.
That's my number. That's I liked Guardians 3 more than Killers of the Flower Moon, apparently. That's my number 12.
It is a more fun movie.
It is. It's kind of like what I want to watch right now,
Yeah. The 3-hour movie about white dudes being really awful to Native Americans, or a 2-hour movie about a raccoon being kind of sick. I'm going sick raccoon all day for sure on a rewatch. Yeah, I like this movie quite a bit. I'm a big Scorsese slut. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm just a big fan of his, and like seeing a movie like this reminds me. I'm like, man, like he killed it with this, and like Silent, and like just a lot of his modern day movies that are more about like human atrocities.
Yeah.
Are very, very, very ringing true to me for whatever reason. Like I connect in a really weird way to them, because I'm just like, I like to be reminded that we're like awful and that we suck as human beings.
Yeah,
so
I agree. The stuff that we do to each other.
Yeah, just like never forget, man. Never forget that like type of shit that we do to each other. Like the capacity of evil in humanity.
I'd be more interested to see at this stage in his career, after the movies that we mentioned. I want to see what he can do about human beings doing stuff for each other instead of against each other.
Maybe that's what the Jesus movie's about.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
The movie I'm 1,000% not going to see. So, sorry. I like this movie a lot, though. Yeah, the people show up and act their asses off in this movie no surprise. Dude, Scorsese wouldn't invite you if you didn't know how to show up. And even like, and we've talked about this before, like, Brendan Fraser comes in for like 10 minutes and like steals the whole movie in his dumb tweed suit, in his Foghorn Leghorn accent. He's
overacting his ass off.
Oh, it's so great.
I mean, deliberately though. Some people were like, "Well, that didn't work for me," and I'm like, guys, he's trying to sell it to the judge. He's trying to be like, oh, poor clients.
This is not for you. Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's clear, and he's trying to intimidate also DiCaprio at one point. So like, he's doing it for a reason. It's not like that's his genuine self as a character. I don't know why people can't see that.
Amount of times Leo looks dumbfounded in this because he's an idiot, He's a
he's so
fucking
dumb.
moron of a character.
Yeah.
He'll like try and explain his way out of something or like make sense of something, and he has this perfect dumbfounded face that I didn't know he was capable of. I was like, hey, Leo's capable of looking like a dipshit. Like, this is cool. And yeah, no, like there are so many dipshits in this movie. Like it sucks that like the whites are so evil to everybody in this movie. But I do appreciate that they were painted as like a bunch of fucking morons with like resources.
Me too. Yeah.
So I
There's
really enjoyed that.
Parallels to be made there with some idiots that are, running things that are blatantly stupid.
Yeah, obviously.
But they continue to stay in their current roles, and you're like, how did this happen? Well, let's look at history.
Going on forever. That's how.
Yeah, exactly. It's been going on forever. This is not a new phenomenon.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. But this was going to be a no duh one for me when it was originally announced, and we saw the original, the first couple trailers. I was like, oh yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, probably love the music too.
Super good. Yeah,
especially that one tribal song that got nominated for an Oscar. Went back and listened to it. It's 5 minutes, and a lot of it's the same thing over and over, but it's just so freaking cool. And I'd love is it the epilogue when it's after? It's epilogue.
Yeah, the radio show. Yeah,
the radio show is incredible. I thought
it's a good way to. It's a good stinger at the end.
That. Yeah,
I didn't know what was going on for like about 2 minutes, and then I was like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah, right. Because that is how they would do. Back then, that is how they would do those type of shows. They didn't really have a sense of like how things appear on TV or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It was more just a live radio show with an audience, basically. That was really cool. I love DiCaprio in this. I think in my opinion, I think he got snubbed for an Oscar. It's kind of insane to me.
That's his MO though.
That's true though. Yeah, when I brought it up to you, you were like, "Yeah, but the Academy kind of hates him, right?" Like, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that."
He banged all of their wives, is what I heard. So that's why they hate him.
So yeah, he got snubbed. De Niro got a nomination, I think.
Deserved. Yeah.
I think Lily Gladstone is like a front runner of some kind. She's competing with Emma Stone right now. Like they keep winning. One of them keeps winning or the other, basically, at all the award shows. But she's incredible. Like, I mean, I've never seen her before. She's amazing in this. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of her. Yeah. She's outstanding in this movie, though.
Yeah, super good. God. And then like all the folk musicians that were in this like caught me off guard.
You're the one that brought that up to me.
Yeah.
It is funny that what's his face shows up at the very end.
Jack White.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Where I'm like, is that fucking emo band guy? Like, that's not even a folk guy. That's just an emo band guy. Yeah. All right, that was fun.
So like before that, I remember one part they said, hey, you got to go get a bomb from this guy. And then they go, it's like a tailor, and they go to him, or he's at a tailor shop or whatever, and he's getting a suit on, and I'm like, is that Pete Yorn? I used to listen to him in high school. This is crazy. And funny. I think Jason Isbell was one of the characters that was married to one of the Native American girls. But he was like the slow talking one that Leo hated.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I don't like. He's like getting in his face. I don't like you, but he never loses his cool. He's just like, well, that's just your prerogative or whatever.
Yeah.
So funny. And he is creepy. He plays that so well. I'm trying to remember who else was in it, but those are like Sturgill Simpson, I think, was in it, but he's been in a lot of stuff lately. Like I think he was in Blind Spotting as well and stuff like that. So he shows up every now and then, and it's hard to call him country or Americana because he did a rock album that just.
Awesome. A couple years ago, that was really good. Yeah.
My God. It's like, just stay in that lane, bro. Anyway, great movie. Well worth all of the heaps of praise it's getting on it. And the awards, for sure. So my number 4, might just be worth talking about it now if you have it in the similar position. My number 4 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
A slight push to 3, so yeah, we can go ahead and talk about it. Yeah.
What's your number 4 then?
My number 4 is the Kyle Ass movie of the year, The Creator.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I did not
literally
have this
just made for me. It's nobody else's movie.
It's nobody else. Yeah.
And we can talk about that real quick.
Basically, really anybody good. That came at you, I saw your comments. Anybody that came at you with a I didn't care for this. I've seen it before. You blocked them and gave him a middle finger.
I did, all of them.
Because it's a Kyle movie. You were like, F you.
Right, that was my immediate reaction. I had long-term friends of 30 years, and I was like, I don't really like this guy. No, that's not true. No one saw this movie, so nobody commented on my Facebook, so I didn't have to have any talks with anybody. I did see the talks online about it being kind of something you've seen before. A lot of things, there's something you've seen before. Sometimes it's just about the execution of said thing, and the execution was very well done here.
Yeah.
And the cast is great, and it looked way better than it should have for the budget that it was on.
Oh my god. Yeah.
It's one of the best shot movies of the year. Watching it on 4K on my TV was out of this world. I just couldn't.
Oh my god.
Tell you where I was just like, I was totally glued to just everything. Everything just looked so real. And I liked a lot of the story, even though it might have been things you've seen before. You know, like I liked that, like Washington was kind of a not double agent, but he was doing an inside job.
He was, and then he wasn't. Then he got too immersed.
Yeah. You know, and classically falls in love with one of the people that he's trying to keep an eye on, and kind of builds a new life, and that life gets taken from him, and yeah, I've seen it before, you know. But again, it's executed really well. I think Washington's great in this movie. I think he's great in everything he does. And Ken Watanabe shows up with some chrome. You know, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that was rad. I love the look of the like they're like synthetic flesh robots or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They look so cool, man.
They look very cool, and there's some good moments, man. Like where that running bomb, like that. Dude, try and get that out of your head.
Yeah,
like a
terrifying.
Bomb that like has legs and arms, and it's like you know, like it is crazy, that scene.
They even managed to include like a cyberpunk, Blade Runner type of scene where they get to go to a city and you get to see what the general population experiences, and that was really cool too. This is definitely
one of the more like high-profile cyberpunk things we've gotten since The Matrix. You know, like talking about something that just really hasn't broken through yet into the mainstream outside of Blade Runner. I guess Blade Runner 2049 would have been the last one. But yeah, like Blade 2049 and then The Matrix. Those are the last two like cyberpunk,
that's it.
High-profile cyberpunk movies. You know. So it's nice to kind of see that genre being represented, and man, I think it's super cool. And I for a movie that leans into a tiger and cub scenario, which I don't like, not the movie, but like I just don't like that. But like and we just had a good version of it with The Mandalorian and stuff like that. Like we're not craving, old grizzled dudes taking care of young kids.
Right.
It's one of the reasons I don't like Sicario 2, like at all. Like if there's a lot of things
not even a little bit for me.
Like it's just it's but this is done pretty well because like the kid is kind of like a deity, so it's not really, he is like the Grogu of this movie, or she is the Grogu of this movie, really, where it's like she's far from incapable. In fact, she does some magic hand stuff in this movie too. So
she does, yeah.
So yeah, we it was good enough. It was good enough for me for a type of storytelling that I'm not usually into. So
yeah. It helps when they manage to find somebody who's just an amazing actor.
That's true.
And
too.
She delivered the emotion big time when the scene called for it.
Yeah.
I was very impressed.
Jeff, you've learned a lot about me and my love for orbital lasers these last 6 to 8 months.
Yes.
And there are a lot of orbital things in this movie where a giant AI spaceship is just like raining down, like just hell on like cities and stuff like that. And like I
love like the sound design of it,
dude. That's a
the
10
look
out of 10.
of it, the look how it's a blue scan first, and then you see it come down and like
it's super rad, man.
And then going up there was really cool. Oh my gosh, man. Such a cool.
It's a very, very, very memorable movie, despite it being maybe a remix of things you've seen before, Like,
right.
Hey, this AI might be sentient, It's like, cool. Yeah, I'm not selling it, in terms of a fresh take, but I am trying to sell it in terms of it just being great execution on really, really, really cool ideas. So
yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that. That's why it's not anymore on my list, and it's trash.
So that's why you hate it. Yeah, I get it.
My number 3. Then we'll talk about Across the Spider-Verse. My number 3 is Poor Things. This is where I have this.
Another one that would probably be on my list.
Probably, yeah. I mean, if you liked, I don't know if you've seen The Lobster yet, but if you liked Killing a Sacred Deer,
I love Killing a Sacred Deer.
Absolutely,
absolutely.
It's not as weird. I do feel like even though there is a lot of weird Terry Gilliam stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
In terms of like the set design and some of the wacky dances that they do, and the stilted dialogue and stuff. Like, I still feel like there's an accessible quality to this movie.
Yeah, Terry Gilliam likes to do that, like toy box type of background look. I know like, it's more CG in this movie or whatever, but like it's a fake backdrop, you know.
It's this extremely fake backdrop, but like when you look at it, you're like, it looks like a painting. It looks so freaking good. Like, surprised that it might have been. Now I gotta check check before I say it. Pretty sure it got nominated for best visual effects, I think. Okay. And if it did, hey man, it deserves it, because every time I saw a shot of a background, I was like, how does it look so good? I don't understand. This is a movie about fucking. I don't understand. No, it didn't. Okay, so Godzilla -1, current frontrunner. The Creator, Guardians 3, Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. I was surprised by both of those.
Yeah.
I really thought Poor Things would get in there, but just for its environmental stuff in the background, it looked really good. But yeah, I mean, the top 3 though are like, of course they're going to be in there. Oppenheimer should be in here too, but it got snubbed on the short list. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
I'll talk about that in a later.
It's hard to win in a category with the Creator and Godzilla. I feel like those are like they own kind of that space.
Yeah, ever since Oppenheimer was just I don't know what the word is, shifted, whatever. Ever since it was like just snubbed completely, I feel like that kind of opened it up for the Creator and Godzilla to finally like get their due, more or less.
Yeah,
I just love that.
It'd be cool to see one of these movies that both kind of feel like they're not Hollywood movies, you know? Yeah,
not proper. Hollywood.
Not proper Hollywood.
Yeah. Especially with the budget. Well, I think the Godzilla had a big budget for Japan.
Yeah, but a big budget for Japan is probably not a big budget for Hollywood.
But the Creator did have, for the scale of the movie, that was a little bit smaller of a budget. Compared to Mission Impossible or whatever.
You couldn't tell that movie is like
exactly.
Lower
there were some shots in the reason I was surprised by Dead Reckoning Part 1. There were some shots in the train sequence that I was like, that's CG. Like,
same. Right.
Whereas sometimes if I don't know, they're really good at it, you can't tell. But anyway,
are you saying Indiana Jones didn't get nominated for Best Young Harrison Ford?
They did. Where he turns
and his face goes.
His face is like wobbly. Hey kid, belongs in a museum.
I like punching Nazis, kid. There's a couple times where I go, I think his ship just his face just shifted a little bit.
Yeah, wow. He's got superpowers too. The score for that movie did get nominated because it's John Williams and the Academy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one. I have a major boner for that movie in terms of On Men, so we'll talk about that movie in a little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, so like Poor Things is kind of a Frankenstein movie that I've talked about before. I think I talked about in Current Gen. But Emma Stone's character, she's dead. How can she be a character if she's dead? She's dead at the beginning of the movie. She gets revived by Willem Dafoe's character, who's like the Dr. Frankenstein of sorts. And but when she dies, I don't know, I shouldn't even tell you. It's better to discover why she's so messed up when she wakes up.
Okay.
She can't talk, like she can barely talk, she can barely walk. There's a lot of humor there though. There's a lot of things to play with for her as an actor. Like she's just being very inappropriate. Especially when she discovers like what sex feels like. She's just ravenous. So it's like there's a lot of humor in it. It is one of the funniest movies I've seen of the year for sure.
Nice. Okay. No short supplies of laughs this year.
Oh no, not at all. Mark Ruffalo brings so many laughs in this movie. He's so freaking funny and pathetic.
It's so funny that I like him every time he's not in a Marvel movie. I feel like they don't give him like space to like be him like in those movies, whereas like every time I see him somewhere else, he's really pulling.
I think he's told the story with this movie that he told Yorgos Lanthimos, who wrote the script as well. Oh no, I think the guy who wrote it also wrote The Favorite, which I also recommend. That movie's great. Also an Emma Stone movie. But he was like, "Hey Mark, I want you for this role," and he's like, "How do you see me in this role, man? That's not me at all. Like I can't be that type of womanizing dickbag who suddenly becomes pathetic and hopeless. Like I can't. That's not me." And the director just kept pushing him. Like he's just like, "No, you're doing it. I'm just telling you, you're doing it.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
And he's like, all right, I guess.
I like stories where actors get pressured into doing gigs. Yeah, I watched an interview with Clive Owen recently, who didn't want to do Inside Man because his face never gets shown during the movie. He's like, why am I doing it then? And then the director stuck Denzel Washington on him, and then Denzel Washington took him out for a great night and was like, so you're gonna do the movie, right?
Yeah.
And Clive's like, yeah, hell yeah, I am. Yeah.
Hang out with Denzel.
I like directors, they know how to win over, it's like, I'm going to give you the best night ever with,
I would, I'm not an actor, but if I were in his shoes, I would be like, Spike Lee asked me to be in his movie. I want to be in the movie.
Yeah, was Spike Lee not enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird one to me too. Yeah, he is British. Maybe they don't like Spike Lee.
Yeah, maybe yeah.
He loves Denzel though, so yeah.
I never saw what's it called? Oh my God, the summer day movie, the Do the Right Thing. You never saw it. You just
I guess not.
They never had any screenings in London. Yeah, this movie is very British, by the way. Emma Stone's British accent. They have a couple comedians show up too. Rami Youssef plays somebody that comes into the house at the beginning of the movie to document her progress after coming back to life. He's like an assistant to Willem Dafoe's character. Mm-hmm. And
he's the Igor.
Then she decides to run off with Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, exactly. She decides to run off with Mark Ruffalo. And she gets exposed to a lot of what the world actually is, because she was obviously very sheltered in those few months that she was in the house. And to see her reaction, this is why Emma Stone is getting all these awards for this movie, even though she's already gotten plenty of praise in every other movie that she's been in.
Oh, has she?
Yeah. She might have won a few awards here and there. Really? Okay. Emma
Stone. Yeah.
But she just wears all of her reactions so well as an actor to
she's the best, dude. She's got to be one of the best actresses working.
Oh, absolutely.
Of her generation. Yeah.
And she's so ballsy in this movie too. I feel like she's naked for half her screen time. She's not, but she's naked a lot. And that she's a producer on the movie, so it's not like the director pushed her into. She's like, I want to do this movie, the way that it's written. So it's not. Let's calm down with the creepy, guys. She's a producer in the movie. Also, she's an adult. Anyway. Okay. Oh, I don't know if you knew that, dude. She's our age, brother.
Oh, well. Let me tell you something about consent and age appropriation, dude.
But yeah, there's a part where Jared Carmichael, or is it Gerard? Jared, whatever. He shows up in this. He's another stand-up comedian. He shows up in this and he's explaining the actual what the world is actually like to her, in terms of classism and poor people, and how there's just so many dead things just that everybody ignores, people just dying and corpses not being buried. And the way that her reaction to it was just so freaking heartbreaking. But yeah, it's so it has moments like that, and then on top of that, it's there's some really funny stuff. The guys are, for the most part, pretty hilariously stupid. I want to say just Mark Ruffalo and Christopher Abbott, who you'll recognize. He was in It Comes at Night. He was one of the other. He was the other guy in the other family. Got the curly hair.
The guy from Catch-22.
Yeah, he was in Catch-22. Yeah,
I love him. I all the time I say this guy needs to be in more stuff. And
yeah,
he just never.
He shows up. He shows up later in the movie, and he is just such an asshat. He is yeah. So he's able to bring out some laughs too, just for being
God, he's such a good actor.
Yeah, he's so good. He can do I feel like he can do every emotion. He's just so good at it and sell it. Yeah, it's just great, man. And the cinematography and the score is wildly weird. I love it so much. I love the visual effects really floored me. I can't stress that enough. I was very surprised because I felt like nobody talked about that.
Floored Jeffrey.
Yeah, I was just I felt like everybody talked about how great Emma Stone was, which is true. How great Buffalo is. True. The script is great. Also accurate and very funny. Nobody talked about the visual effects at all, and I was like, look at that shit. Pause it. Look at that. I just wanted to pause it.
Am I crazy?
Nobody's talking about this.
Yeah.
So our top two are going to be, there's going to be some alignment. So I'm just guessing that
maybe
based on the ones we haven't talked about yet.
Should we talk about the third place movie though, or your fourth, my third?
Nah, nobody cares about Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. Yeah, third movie's never coming out. Crunch,
yeah.
crunch culture. Hashtag stop crunch culture.
No, this movie is Across the Spider-Verse is your number 3 and my number 4. My number 4 obviously because I hated it.
Yeah.
So
it might be the greatest animated movie of all time, but I guess it's your number 4. So
it's
cool, Jeff. Good job.
It's Baldur's Gate number 5.
Yeah, this Baldur's Gate all over again. Yeah.
Actually, you're not. I don't think you're far off. It might be one of, if not the best animated movie of all time. Like in terms of like the actual animation, like the technicality of all the animation that they put together,
and all the styles, and
exactly.
Like it is absolutely a masterful piece of art. That like this movie wins best special effects.
Yeah,
like, or is it best animated? Yeah, that's crazy. But
I don't think it's on the.
Is it best animated?
It's on best animated for sure.
Okay, all right.
It's
I'll
like
take
the
that. Whatever.
current
you gotta take it
runner. It's the current front runner to win best animated, but like it's competing also against Ghibli, so that's a problem.
Oh sure, yeah. USA. Sorry, As the resident anime guy here, I should probably chill out a little bit. But,
they're tied right now. There's actually no front runner. That's crazy.
Yeah. I didn't see The Boy and the Heron. You didn't you?
Yeah, I did. There was some, I don't know, weird pacing. That's all I gotta say.
I don't love Ghibli, so I'm not I'm not a Ghibli like fanboy. I like them, but like I don't like when people tell me like their favorite anime is Spirited Away. I kind of think you're stupid. That's kind of like, that's just kind of my that's kind of my judgy take,
I liked it for how obviously original it is because they tend to come up with the most original ideas.
It's always pretty, it's always imaginary, and
Robert Pattinson's voice acting was like. What?
Like, you watched it in English? No, sorry. I had to bring out.
He was doing a voice that sounded like Willem Dafoe sometimes, and then Willem Dafoe actually showed up in the movie.
Willem Dafoe is in many Ghibli movies.
Yes.
Actually. Yeah.
So Willem Dafoe actually does do a voice later on, and I'm like, no, that's Willem. So who the hell's the Heron?
Like it was
blowing my mind.
Whatever. He might be in a bunch of
No,
movies.
I think you're right. I think Defoe's been in several.
A lot of the people tend to come back and do like a small role or something.
Yeah, the only newer people were like Pattinson, Florence Pugh, and like trying to remember who else was in the movie.
Yeah.
So there was some younger talent though.
And like Ghibli's like Japanese.
Oh, Christian
Disney.
Bale. He's done a voice though before.
It's got that kind of pedigree. Well, I guess Disney doesn't have that pedigree anymore, but like it's got that pedigree where it's like it has that same kind of pull as like Disney does, but Japanese.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all they need to do is just hear that it's Ghibli, and it's not just Ghibli, but like Miyazaki, like specifically. And they're like, okay, I'm in. He's a legend, of course.
Which I totally understand. Yeah. Miyazaki's a little too humans suck. Nature is dying for me. Like that's his message in every movie. All of them. Most of them, 90% of them, but
some of that's there in Boy and the Heron, yeah.
It's always makes some kind of appearance, but like it's also a good bet. Humans do suck, and we are killing nature, so he's right, But I've just seen him, do that a lot. So
the movie just
Boy and the Heron's not really about that though.
It's good. It's a good movie. It just feels long. Like it's not like Killers of the Flower Moon is a 3.5-hour movie, and not once was I like, can you just end things?
Yeah, I wasn't. Can
we move along to the next scene? Like in Boy and the Heron, that happened several times. I was like, I kind of get what's happening. Can you get to the next scene, please?
Yeah.
And then it just kept going. But I did end up coming away really, really liking it.
I need to check it out.
It's not my list anywhere, so that means I hated it. Obviously.
Yeah, that's what it means.
But hey, man, Across the Spider-Verse, you and I were both prepped for it to be part 2 of of like a trilogy.
Yeah, so I guess some people were shocked that it was a cliffhanger, and I was like, well, they said it was going to be.
Did y'all not catch that? Like, in all the press, people just not tapped in as much as we are.
Yeah, so. I don't know how tapped in you have to be to hear people's words that they say out loud, but
say out loud at every convention ever. They were very, very clear on what their plans were. But okay, all right, that's okay. Sorry, do your thing. I just I love that. They kind of did the whole thing that The Killer did. You heard it here first. The Killer and Across the Spider-Verse are the same movie.
They're the same movie.
They're the same movie. But it kind of starts with like more of a slower character exploration of like how Miles is contending with like not having his friends around again.
Mm-hmm. His friends that he made from other universes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. and then Gwen comes back into his life and stuff like that. And that's a huge chunk of the like first act of the movie.
There's a lot of Gwen stuff, at the beginning.
Yeah, there is a lot of Gwen. Yeah, the beginning before the title card is all Gwen. Like, so the movie's trying to tell you should probably follow. There's the through line here, and it's Gwen. Miles is gonna have his cliffhanger, but she's not.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the movie begins and ends kind of with her arc. So
exactly, and it was. I thought that was beautiful the way they did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole first sequence gave me chills, dude. It was like watercolors, and they were like dry, like wet and drying, and like.
It was cool to see like her world.
Yeah. So cool. Oh my god.
Sad story too. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty tragic. Yeah, I get. Yeah, and I totally get it too. Like, I totally get why it's kind of like, I don't really know how to tell him. Robin a bad time.
We're having fun here,
yeah. Because every other word out of her dad's mouth is Spider-Man's a terrorist or whatever. So she's like, well, right. I guess I'll never tell you anything.
Well, yeah, I think I'll take this to my grave. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get why she's like, I guess I'll just go with the other spider people just because they asked. That's the only place I feel safe.
Yeah.
Even though they're asking her to do things that might go against what the Spider-Man code is, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Spider code. Yeah.
Yeah. The Nexus event thing.
Mm-hmm.
It does kind of fly in the face, depending on what it is. Of, Spider-Man is supposed to save people, kind of like what Miles was saying in the movie.
Yeah. And how did they twice now do the multiverse better than Marvel has done over the course of like 20 movies?
I know, it's been so many movies.
And this is Sony we're talking about, who puts out dog shit. You know what I mean?
They just put out Madam Web, Mad Dumb.
Yeah, we're just making more Morbius movies.
Morbius. Yeah, exactly. How is this the same? I don't understand Can they not just get the same creatives involved for those other movies? I don't understand.
They're like, we're gonna keep on hiring dipshits for those movies. And, they'll be fine.
But hear me out. We'll cast hot people in the movie.
Yeah, we'll cast incredibly hot people, which like that is the marketing of Madam Web. Yeah. Like, look at all these fine bitches in this movie, which is the slogan too on the poster. It's like we have fine bitches, and no one's gonna see that movie. Like, like there's not gonna be.
I think for Craven, they even say Craven. Look at that 6-pack. That's all it says.
Yeah, Craven. Y'all like this motherfucker, right? Yeah, like that's the tagline. Yeah.
Look at this. Look at his beard. I mean, look at it. Just look at it.
Craven. We got what's his face to do another Russian accent. Huh? Yeah. That's another poster. Yeah. I'm making the posters.
You didn't see that coming.
Yeah, you didn't see that coming. Yeah, it's awful.
It is baffling. It is baffling how it's the same studio.
Because like this is better than most Marvel movies too.
Yeah,
like, not even the multiverse ones. Like all of them. Yeah. So it is one of the best pieces of superhero cinema you can watch. And it is moving art.
It is a beautiful ramp up to like the first actual like full set piece of him being chased.
Mumbai Manhattan sequence or no,
not just that.
The spot, the one.
Oh, but I do love the Mumbai sequence. That stuff is great.
Are you talking about the Mr.
The Spot
chase?
Stuff too is fantastic at the beginning. I forgot about that.
Oh,
that stuff is so good.
What are you talking about then?
I was talking about I feel like it was like the culmination of all of it was him being chased by literally every Spider-Man in existence.
Oh, of course, yeah. The scene that took him like 4 years.
It was just like
or whatever.
Yeah, I imagine. I believe that.
I forget what the time. It was like 2 years. It was like a lot. Like they spent 2 full years working on it or something like that.
They had to include so many cameos in that part. Also, the cameos are great. They had to it's just so many different art styles chasing one person
at different frames per second,
and it was just such a ramp up too. I love the ramp up to it. Like the build up to it was like,
dude, talk about another exhausting scene. By the time it's done, you're
Miles,
just like, oh my god.
You sensed him making up his mind, like the more information that he was getting, and oh man, it's such a. I gotta go rewatch. This is the movie that I'm probably gonna go rewatch.
I own that movie and I haven't watched it.
Yeah,
yet, so,
I haven't watched it yet either.
Funny,
I've seen the Into the Spider-Verse like maybe 6 times or 7 times.
Yeah, I've seen it like 4 times, something like that.
Yeah, I love that movie so much.
I do too. Yeah.
But yeah, this one now that you mentioned the other action sequences, I totally almost forgot about. Like the Mumbai one, which is hard to forget. I mean, it
is maybe my favorite. I don't know. It's nothing beats the chase sequence. I feel like
that chase sequence is unfreaking believable.
Yeah. But the Mumbai sequence is like so visual. It's all visual. I'm just saying things that the whole movie is. Well, it's just really well shot.
There's just things to look at. The
cameos are just really something.
Well, the the Spot one too was really, really clever, especially because they're bouncing between universes. And they're like, "What's happening here?" And then they do a cameo of that horrible. This is kind of a spoiler. I don't really care though, because the movies are trash. They cameo that convenience store clerk from the Venom movies. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally know who that is. Give me a break. Fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah.
And that was like at the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, I'm supposed to give a shit? Get out of here.
Right. It actually took me a second to know who that was. I was like, are we supposed to? Oh, this is Venom.
I had to just let it fly by me, and then be like,
Sony totally was like, you got to put this in here, and they're like, God damn it.
We got to reference their shitty Venom movies.
Shit.
It was either that or Morbius, guys. We have to do it.
Right. It was a good compromise.
I love this movie, man. I'm actually, fuck it. I'll just go watch it after we're done recording.
I have Starship Troopers on the brain because of Helldivers. So that's my next.
Oh, nice.
That's my next movie. Yeah.
They need to make a TV show out of that or something with the right
Starship Troopers.
Involved. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. You can make a cartoon too. You don't have to.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But just with like the right creatives involved. I'm not necessarily Paul Verhoeven, but people.
Talk about a property.
People that understand it. You know.
Talk about a property that is ripe for success.
Yeah.
In video games and movie, why are you not? Anyways, it's not Starship Troopers.
Why is this not? Stop making sequels with like all but one person comes back, or one person only comes back, or whatever. Like, just please give us a TV series, long form. Anyway, let's just do honorable mentions. Our top two are going to be literally identical, but maybe in different orders. So some of mine, I got Barbie in there. Nobody saw that movie though. So I don't know. I want to dwell on it. Barbie.
They got snubbed, okay. Jeff. They were snubbed.
They were so
snubbed.
I genuinely do love that movie. It's
you did. Every time y'all talked about it, I was like, "This sounds like a fun movie." Yeah,
it's really fun, and I think it is streaming now.
It's on Max. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And
there's just no way I'm gonna watch that before
like Godzilla or whatever.
Right.
It is really, really funny, but it's just like if you've seen more than just Barbie for the year, you're gonna have other movies that you favor over Barbie.
Yeah.
So it's just the fact that most people in our country, at least, only saw Barbie for the year. That's why they're like, best director. Best actress. Like,
I was there at Barbenheimer. I was there in my pink shirt.
It's like, oh, so you didn't see anything else. You just saw Barbie. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
Right.
And then it's funny. I'm seeing the reaction of TikTokers in real time seeing movies that were nominated for best director instead. One is called Anatomy of a Fall. And it's just a courtroom drama of like.
My mom just told me about this movie.
It's
I was
split.
Just literally talking about her a second. Like
the language is split. It's like in French, English, and German.
Yeah.
And so it's like a German actress taken to French court for the murder of her husband, and you don't really know whether or not she did it when the trial begins.
It's reverse. It's reverse European The Staircase, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. He falls from like the top of whatever. They have like a little chip, like a whatever patio or whatever he falls from. And like she's like having to switch, like, can we just speak in English? I don't understand you guys and all this stuff. And seeing people on TikTok react in real time to this movie, like, this movie is like genuinely really good. I'm like, yeah, that's why I got fucking nominated.
I hear. If my mom's talking about this movie, like, it's probably good. You know what I mean? Like, my mom doesn't see a lot of movies, so
it's not anywhere in my honorable mentions. But it is funny that people like bitch about nominations, and I'm like, you didn't see Anatomy of a Fall. Get out of here, bro. You did not.
Yeah.
And also, where Barbie thrived for me is the script. Like, the script is just the best. That got nominated, so I think
people are acting like Greta Gerwig, like her getting snubbed, like, oh, or like this is detriment to her career. She's fine.
She's doing Narnia after this.
She's gonna be okay, y'all. Yeah. Like, she's getting work, and she's got a lot of praise, and people love her. Like, her not getting a statue is not gonna fucking ruin her life. So
no, not even a little bit. Also, it was still the top grossing movie of the year, and Margot Robbie did still get nominated as producer.
Dude, guess what? She won. You know what I mean?
The movie won. How much more winning?
Everyone involved with that movie won. You know, like maybe you didn't win a statue, but you win the year.
This is already a poor litmus test result for when the movie doesn't really win that many awards at the Oscars. It's going to win like maybe 2 or 3, and everybody will be like, "Oh, why didn't it win best?"
A movie that won $1 billion, best movie of the year. Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Anyway, I do love the movie. I just wanted to get that one out of the way. I loved Reality. It's the HBO movie about Reality Winner, the person that got in jail for like stealing and exposing one confidential document, and she went to jail for it. Just throwing it out there, guys. One document, and she went to jail for it. Meanwhile, people can just steal that willy-nilly and not go to jail. That's cool. So great movie, very conversational. Sydney Sweeney is a great actor. People forget that because, attractive. How you doing?
Why? Specifically, why? Give me 2 reasons.
Give me 2 very big reasons why. But like it starts very conversational with her talking to these they're like cops or feds or whatever. And they sound like they're cool people and stuff, but then as soon as they start actually interrogating her, you feel it. You feel that shift.
Those are real tactics. Yeah. You and them up and then you get them.
And the movie is literally just here's what was said in the exchange in the interrogation. Like it's just verbatim what happened.
Oh, it's the actual like transcript or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
That's sick.
And they show some of that too. They show some of the tape and stuff like that. It's really rad how they did that. Love that movie. Love Artifice Girl. It's about an AI girl who starts as a figment behind a TV screen. Mm-hmm. And she was being used to, you know what? The less I say, the better. The less I say, the better.
That's fair.
It ends up being because when I find out the purpose of her creation, I'm like, whoa, that's heavy. So I'd rather people just find out on their own. But it's a really, really good. I mean, it's the whole conceit is AI and like what is consciousness and stuff. So of course, it's a great. I love that type of stuff. So of course, I think it's great. What else do you have?
I have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, the animated CG movie on here.
Mutant Mayhem. Great movie. We talked about it here on the podcast. Very fun, great animated. I hope to make more of these. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are really it's got to be a pretty strong brand. Like what are we doing? Like put more stuff out. Yeah. So that was nice and nostalgic and it felt good and it's sometimes doesn't work out when you try and kind of bring these like now Nickelodeon owned brands back from the dead and stuff like that. So but yeah, the movie ended up being really good. I brought it up a moment. Yeah. I brought it up a little moment ago. Indiana Jones, fun movie, man. This movie was such a ride. It is sad watching Harrison Ford 80-year-old his way like through action sequences, but it wasn't distracting. I agree. You just know he's old. And like you just kind of have to buy in a little bit. Obviously he's not going to go like, square off with like 20 dudes like in a fist fight, because he's 80, so it's right. Like, but they do a really good job of working around stuff like that, and still giving some really good action sequences like the buggy, the silly like buggy chase like in the middle of that movie where he meets with what's her face for the first time. They're like jumping from like buggies and stuff like that. Very, very cool sequence. And like they go for it, I think we talked about it on the podcast too. They go for it, and like it's not my favorite part of the movie, but it's not annoying to me like aliens showing up at the end of like the last movie, Crystal Skull. So it's like they handled the more fantastical moments with a little more decorum, let's call it, than just being like, and aliens, at the end of the last movie. Right.
They're there. They're coming down. There's a beam of light and everything. And you're just like, yeah, I guess. Okay. Sure, so religion is real and aliens are real in this universe. Okay, whatever. Whatever.
It's not about what you believe; it's how hard you believe.
You believe it.
That's a bullshit, Harrison. You saw aliens. Get out of here, bro.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's so funny that Han Solo and Indiana Jones are both like, I've seen some shit, but I'm not gonna admit it.
Yeah,
I'm never gonna come to terms with it. I've seen the Force, but who gives a shit about it? Like it's very funny that they're the same character. And he's played them both old and young.
So
yeah, I like this movie. It's just a fun ride. I like Indiana Jones. I don't love Crystal Skull. I don't even like it. I think it's a fucking abomination of a movie. Yeah. This movie was like a major improvement of that. Yeah. And like it sucks because like in the last movie, like it was a lot of like you're old jokes, you know, and like you get a lot of that here too. And I do tire of those jokes kind of like halfway through the movie where they're like, "Oh, you're old, Indy," and I'm like, "We can see him." Yeah. A lot of us have been here for 40 years watching these movies, you know, like we know he's old. But I like what's his face who shows up in the movie who plays all the bad guy roles in every movie now with a southern accent. No, I like Mads in the movie, but the other guy, the guy who's also in Logan and
Boyd Holbrook.
Boyd, yeah, he's great. He's so good, and we just saw him in. We just saw him in the TV show with Oliphant, you know, playing a bad guy too. With
oh my god, he was so good in that movie.
So it's like we got a good year of bad guys, you know, with bad guy roles with him.
What a conniving motherfucker! Oh my god, he's so good.
He just gets away with it too. Yeah.
Oh, he's so good. Justified.
Every time. Yeah. So he's great in the movie too, and I like the movie, and I like what's Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I think she was great in this movie. I thought she was excellent in this movie.
I had fun with her role in it. Yeah.
Yeah. She's very, very, very easy to like.
Oh yeah, totally. That would have been interesting to see her and Donald Glover's version of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But having said that.
Yeah,
I'm kind of glad the
Atlanta crew like got behind he put it. Like there are just two bosses, and someone needs to follow, and someone needs to lead, and no one was going to take the follow role. And I was like, I respect that. Yeah, y'all are two like insanely imaginative personalities. Like,
right. Like he brought in his writing room, and she's like, "What's a writer's room?" Like, I just write my own stuff.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like probably baffling for her. I don't know. I don't know how
they're different types of artists. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's fine. And the show ended up being really great anyway, so who cares?
I hear, yeah. I'm actually gonna end up watching it, so.
Some ones that I know. Well, actually, technically, I guess Society of the Snow is 2024 because none of us could see it.
Don't bring that up because that's a 2024 movie.
Okay, good. Because in 2023 it's bad, but in 2024 it's really good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It aged well. Those two weeks.
I think Infinity Pool is one we both watched. Is that right?
Yeah, I like Infinity Pool. Yeah.
I love Infinity Pool. I had that in my honorable mentions for. I mean, that was an early Q1 release.
Yeah.
I've had that on my list for ages, dude. I freaking love that movie.
I enjoy it quite a bit. Yeah, my gothing out pretty hard is always a fun time. So,
James. Yeah.
It's very. She goes 211 in this movie,
and I love it.
So if you're showing up because I like her in Pearl, you're gonna get that in this movie. Yeah,
you're gonna get a lot of that.
Get it hard. Yeah.
And I love the. There's so much comedy in him getting back on the bus to leave to go home, and everybody's just acting like regular people. Mm-hmm. There's so much. I know that's kind of a spoiler on the end of the movie, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But it's whatever. It's you weren't going to watch it.
No one's being convinced to watch a Cronenberg movie. You know, like you either saw it or you're not gonna. You know.
But there's so much comedy, and like everybody's just acting totally normal, and he's like, "We just did the most scarring shit I've ever done in my life." Like, he's still wearing that on his face. Like,
holy shit! Did we just do that?
Yeah. It's a great movie. I love the movie Missing. It's one of those gimmicky ones where it's like all through webcams and phone cameras and stuff like that. And it's like a screen. I forget. There's probably a genre name for it now, but it's all through like screens, and you can see the text messages, all that stuff. But this is a kind of like a sequel spinoff of what's the first movie with John Cho? Searching, I think, where his daughter goes missing or whatever. Yeah. And in this one, it's a different character in the same universe, and it's her mom goes missing. And I know that it happens in the same universe because they're watching a Netflix adaptation of the first movie. Mm. They're like watching it a little bit in this movie, so like they so like it totally happened in the same universe and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just dude, there's just some clever, like obviously there's clever cam work because there has to be, that's the gimmick. But it made me give a shit about the characters and like what happened to them. And that's a feat in itself when you're telling your story at me in a totally different way.
Yeah.
I love that one. I loved Bradley Cooper's Junos and Maestro.
Is that what you liked about it specifically?
So I'm just sorry. That's what everybody's been calling it. This is stereotypical Junos. It is what it is. I kind of accepted that's the movie. That's the version. That's the look that they gave him in the movie. That's what I got out of it. Okay, you got to learn to quickly be unbothered by certain things.
People wear prosthetics all the time. It's just, I get it. Here, where people are like, but he's Jewish and it's a nose, and it's like,
right.
Okay, yeah, all right.
His explanation too for having to use prosthetics is because it made when he wore prosthetics for when Leonard Bernstein was like 80 or whatever, and in order for that to look more naturally aged, he had to have a bigger nose on, because I
would say that's a really good way to describe it. I don't believe that at all, but yeah, I'd say that's a really good.
Yeah,
it is good. Like, that's a really diplomatic way to be like, no, it actually makes sense from like
there's a practical reason for it. Blah blah
blah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
I did love the movie, and it's this is one kind of like The Killer, where I feel like I run into more people that didn't like it, which is okay. It is what it is. But I loved it for being a portrait of a. Well, I guess it's more of a portrait because it's like it's based on a book that's not autobiographical. It's based on a book that was somebody else wrote about Lenny's life. So technically, it's it's a portrait of a portrait. But it is about a married couple at the end of the day. It's not so much, even though it's called Maestro, it's not so much about just Lenny and his life and stuff like that. It's two people. Carrie Mulligan is a major part in the story, and
what did her prosthetic nose look like?
It was even bigger. Just like way out there. Yeah. She is so freaking good in this. Great. One of my favorite performances of the year is from this movie. Yeah. They're both doing like speech affectations to sound like they're old, classic golden age of Hollywood. Hers in particular just sounded more natural, and like she'd worn it forever. And then there's like a whole scene where he conducts an orchestra for like 9 minutes or whatever. And so I saw one of my friends that I follow on Letterboxd put it in his review as like some kind of own. Like, I just watched him compose for 9 minutes. So yeah, that's the kind of movie this is. And I'm like,
got him.
That part rules. What are you talking about? Like, I don't. Especially because after
that'd be like being mad at Whiplash for having a whole drum sequence, Like, he just played drums. It was so.
Dude, that ending is so long.
It's so weird. Like, he just played drums at the end. I don't. You mean the best part of the movie? Like,
like the perspective of that scene, you don't realize until the end. It's from Carey Mulligan's character's perspective. Yeah. So like, there's a whole reason you see the whole thing. But also, it was important to see like, that was another complaint I saw online was like, I don't get to see enough of what makes Lenny a good conductor. And I'm like, did you just fast forward the 9-minute sequence of him conducting? Because that's it. You saw it.
That's what
you're never going to be explained if you're not a conductor, you're not going to be
he can explain really good.
Yeah. You can't explain conducting to a non-conductor in a way that's like, oh, that's what makes him good. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
You just have to
me specifically why John Williams is good.
Yeah.
I don't know. He like the dun 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 really well.
Even I myself as a musician, I'm like, I don't know what the hell makes a good conductor. I have no freaking clue. They could just be doing this all day out of time. I don't care. But whatever. Anyway, it was very expressive and very good. And the cinematography is like, good Lord, it is insane. It is one of the most pretty movies I saw all year. And then Talk to Me was great too. That was a horror movie with that hand, that dummy hand or whatever that's like cursed.
Yeah.
And you say talk to me, and somebody from the other side comes in and takes over your body and stuff like that. Until you let go of the hand or whatever. But it starts out as like a party trick. Like, oh, this is crazy. Get out your cameras and film it. And it's just kids being dumb kids. That might be partially a reason that might turn people off to the movie. Because they don't tolerate.
It was a pretty big hit. I feel like a lot of people.
Yeah, it was. But like, there are people that are like, "Oh my god, the kids in that movie are so stupid." And I'm like,
newsflash, kids are dumb.
Kids are dumb.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all know that. Yeah, remember when you were a teenager and how stupid you were?
Yeah,
that's.
and the movie's making a point about kids with phones and how they're always like their inclination is to always film stuff.
Yeah,
and to not help or to whatever, to see how far things go. They don't have an urgency to help, basically, in emergency situations.
Get commentary, bro.
Yeah, there's some good commentary in it, and there's just some great camera work and trickery and shit like that.
Cool. It's always nice. That's always welcoming for a horror movie.
Yeah, for first-time filmmakers, I thought it was conceptually like really well done. Yeah, good shit. What else? Do you have any others?
Yeah, I got a couple. I'll just rattle off real quick. I really like the Tetris movie. I like a lot. I had a great time with that movie. I really liked Air a lot. Had a good time with that movie. I'm just gonna rattle.
Yeah, Air is fun.
Air's fun. Yeah. Surprise of the year. I thought this movie was gonna be dog shit. Like Dungeons and Dragons quite a bit. Watched it a second time after playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I was like, I kind of know everything they're talking about now, because I hadn't played Dungeons and Dragons in years. So like a lot of the terminology went over my head the first time because it'd been a long time since I played it. But yeah, it's a fun movie. I really thought the movie was gonna suck. So.
Yeah.
And
I really did too. I think all of us went in there.
Yeah, it's like this movie's
current gen, and we were like, "This is gonna be dog shit, right, guys?"
So shitty. Yeah.
The trailers just look bad.
And the last movie I ended up really enjoying was They Clone Tyrone. I like that movie quite a bit.
That's on Netflix. Like that one too.
Yeah, it's a nice spoof on blaxploitation movies.
Yeah.
In a world where every like urban legend about the government trying to like take down the black community of Pegger 2 is real, and it's just very good, very funny, very topical. You get some messages out of it, but it's really kind of more about the laughs and the satire. So yeah, those are kind of
good stuff. I got like a couple more. So I got The Teacher's Lounge, which is like a German movie. Was nominated for Best International Movie. This is one of those. I watch everything that gets nominated for an Oscar nowadays, and this is one of them. And this is one of those movies where, like, I finished it and I was like, "Is that one of the best movies of the year?" Like, holy shit! Like, I just it surprises you because you don't know what to. You just expect normally when something gets nominated for an Oscar, you're like, "This is going to be awards bait." You know, there's not going to be anything here. But it really is like following this teacher that accuses somebody else on staff of stealing money from her jacket, and she catches it on camera. But things spiral as soon as she snitches. Like, things get really out of control. Like, wow. And it just makes me go, okay, I never want to be a teacher. Cool. Yeah. Because even if you try to do the right thing, it's not the right thing. It's never black and white, you know? Yeah, so that's a really great movie. And then the Caine Mutiny Court Martial. Did I say that right? Yeah. That's straight up just a courtroom drama, and that stuff is like porn to me. Especially when it's really well written and engaging, good, you know? Kiefer Sutherland is getting grilled at one point, and he's like, I don't know, his character has a lot of like quirks to him and stuff like that. The way he shifts in his chair and has OCD and stuff like that. He has some other whatever, not necessarily OCD, but he's got some other mental whatever health stuff. And I don't know, he's just playing every word. I was hanging on every word of like every deposition, and the cast is great. Jason Clarke's in it. From Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, I was going to say from the best Terminator movie.
Genesis, yeah.
Genesis.
Genesis, yeah. I'm trying to remember in this damn movie. The Caine Mutiny Court Martial, but I think it's streaming on Paracox or whatever it's called nowadays. Yeah. It's Jake Lacey. Oh, Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's son. J. Duplass is in it for a little bit. Lance Reddick, he's like a head judge. It's one of his final roles.
Oh, wow.
That's probably another reason I loved it so much. Just seeing him in a role of authority of like the judge and being like, you need to get to the point and like stuff like that. Yeah. He's just so good. He's so good in those roles. Last one is... No, I think that's everything I wanted to mention. Okay, we're good. Number 2 and number 1. I think they might be flip-flop for both of us. I don't know. Because my number 2 is John Wick Chapter 4.
That's my number 1.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk about...
Talk about John Wick. You just said it.
Just sign off.
Just talk about John Wick because you just brought it up, and then we'll talk about what I'm assuming is... hold on. I got a joke for this. Hold on. What I'm assuming is Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine...
That's our number 1.
Okay.
What I'm assuming is The Flash or Renfield or
oh my gosh,
Shazam or House Party or The Machine or Rebel Moon. Okay, those are all the bad movies I saw this year. Sorry.
The Flash was 2023. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it feels like so long ago. Holy crap, man. Anyway, John Wick Chapter 4 was just electric, man. And even more so than which is saying a lot. Even more so than the last 3, and it had a lot to live up to after 3. 3 felt like
I didn't know how they were gonna do how do you do more?
Yeah. After 3 felt like so much. It felt like
the pinnacle of where action could go, and then they're like, hold on, we have a 45-minute Osaka sequence that's gonna fucking blow your tits off.
And that was like the first action sequence.
That's the first sequence, and it goes on forever. And there's like multiple stages of it, like it just goes on and on. It's so crazy. Like, that fucking movie jazzes me up so much, dude. Like, I
think I did get the Blu-ray on that one. I think.
Yeah.
It was like pretty cheap, even though it just came out. Like,
man, that movie just pumps me up, dude.
Dude, me too.
It.
Especially
and
like
Donnie Yen is so cool in this movie.
He's so cool.
He puts like sensor doorbells in a sequence, so like people walk by him, so he knows exactly where they are because he's blind. Because that's all he can play is blind characters. You would think he's actually blind.
I feel like that's him as like a producer of his character or whatever. Creative input, like
he's like, I'll come on. I got to be blind though.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. Hear me out.
I want you to be blind. He's like, don't worry, I'll still be cool. And they're like, okay, yeah, whatever. All right. I'm gonna be blind, but not really,
It'll still be cool. Oh, okay. Well, now you say that.
I liked what am I blank? Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård. He plays a slimy Frenchman in this movie that I just love, And I liked Ian McShane's teeth.
Oh, his teeth were extra in this movie.
Very good casting for those teeth. Yeah, for his new dentures, for his 80-year-old ass. I had to
cast a new albino to be his teeth.
They had some stand-ins in the foreground to be his teeth. I like, dude, this movie's fucking awesome, dude. There's a sequence with cars, like in the circle of the
roundabout thing.
They Triumph or whatever in France. That's just like so epic. It's so good. And then it has the audacity to transition into that like top head, fire spray scene.
Right.
And then there's a big staircase sequence. And like that's just like ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum.
Yeah.
That's the last 45 minutes of the movie. And I'm so exhausted by the time like John Wick gets kicked down
when he finally gets
stairs.
Yeah.
Which he actually does. I don't know if it's him or
he actually does,
but like
I feel like it's a little bit of both,
It's like you see it uncut, him just tumbling and it's so comical, but also you're like, ouch! Like how the fuck did he fall down that many steps?
Yeah,
I've walked up those stairs. Like I've been there. I've walked up those stairs before leading to the cathedral, and like that is not an easy walking up those stairs is hard. Having a fight sequence on them is like something completely different, and I can only imagine how winded everybody was. Like that scene just made me tired watching it.
That was mission accomplished on their part because I'm pretty sure that was their goal, was to be like, look at how badass he is, and also look at how tired he is. And the audience was like, at least in my theater, we were laughing at first at how far he was falling, and then we were like, geez, this guy's never gonna see peace ever. Like,
no,
good lord,
it's so crazy. And that's after he gets thrown out of a third-story window onto a car. And like, so I know that they clever cuts. I get it. Like, I know they do the same thing in the first movie where they throw him over the balcony. And like it cuts, like it never cuts, but like there's a clever cut in there somewhere where he like falls on, onto the floor or whatever. The way he bounces off that car or the stunt guy, I'm just like, they threw that guy off a building. You can't fake a bounce like that. Yeah.
They straight up killed a guy to do that. No.
We were watching a snuff film. And I just love the expansion of the dumb Hitman universe mythos. Like there's just like they just keep on expanding it. And you think that like everything's going to get wrapped up in this movie, but like you don't even see anybody from the high table in this movie. Like that doesn't even happen, So like there's still a strange amount of juice to squeeze out of this series, which is weird because
I do love that you mentioned Bill Skarsgård. I love that he was like a politician who's like, I don't want to dirty my hands. So he was kind of like the adjudicator in the third movie, but but that person was more like even more so like I'm not dirtying my hands. I'm just making calling the shots.
Yeah. You just listen to what I have to say, and if you don't, like I'm gonna.
But he had a little more muscle to him. He was able to be like, I'm just gonna shoot some people if I need to.
Yeah, like a classic like silent henchman that hunted Wick the whole movie that I just love. I love henchmen.
Oh yeah. So. Love that stuff.
I forget that guy's name, but he's like a renowned like stunt and fight choreographer. So.
Oh, and can't forget Scott Adkins.
Oh my God! How do you forget Scott Adkins in a fat suit with a German or Russian accent? Yeah. Mr. Wick. Yeah, it's so. Oh fuck, that sequence so
ridiculous.
And then the fight sequence in the club is so good.
Yeah, I love that.
And him in that fat suit doing like 360-degree kick. Oh my God, it's so good, dude. So good.
I love the inclusion of like new character. Mr. Nobody in particular was a great character to follow.
Very good character. Yeah. Cool way to bring a dog back into the situation.
Oh yeah.
Some like cool training sequences
too.
with the dog,
especially during the top-down sequences where like he and Wick were kind of fighting off both the guys at the same time while trying to get
and each other. Yeah. He was a good third.
And you see the dog running around sometimes, and like
he was just he acted as a really nice third-party chaos agent where he would just come in, either help or hinder, and then kind of like leave. Like it was.
I'm
really
telling you, my night's gonna be full of watching Across the Spider-Verse and John Wick Chapter 4 now.
Yeah,
because now that we're waxing poetic about these things,
dude, John Wick 4 pumps me up, dude. That movie just fucking like that's like when you talk about like
rips.
Why do you see movies? That is literally the reason I go and see movies. Like that in its entirety is what I'm here for.
Yeah. Whereas I can't wait for Ballerina then, right? Ballerina's going to be great.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong going to be with that movie.
Yeah, nothing wrong
Spin-offs
with that
always go well, especially from directors that no one really gives a shit about. So. Sorry.
It's not wrong. Not wrong. So my number one, meaning your number two, meaning you hated it. You hated it. Was
the longest movie about white dudes talking about bombs ever.
Yeah. So Rebel Moon.
Moon.
It was Oppenheimer, and how dare you? There's like a Mexican-ish person in it, or whatever. I don't know.
The Softy brother is whatever he is.
I'm pretty sure there was one scene with like a woman. I don't remember who it is now. No, I can't even make it up properly because I can't even remember. No, I think there was a woman though, but it was Olivia Thirlby from Dredd and Juno.
Okay.
And she's like, I know a lot about this stuff, and it's like she had that one scene just to be like, see guys, we put a woman in it. She's a nerd. She never shows up again.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I hated the movie now, so John Wick's my number one.
Thank you. Yeah, there's only so many times I can see Emily Blunt go, you gotta do it, Oppie. You gotta do it, or whatever she was doing over and over again. It was just
wrong kid died. No wait, that's wrong movie.
Oh, sorry.
This was I don't know. I went in with high expectations because it's Chris Nolan and he's one of my favorite filmmakers ever. But like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah, holy shit is right.
Yeah, we're talking about like.
Because like there was a lot of times like when this movie was being announced, like doing a movie about Oppenheimer, like it's just about the guy. It's not going to be a big movie. I'm like, okay. And they're like, it's going to be 3 hours. I'm like, okay. But I was never like doubting the movie. It was strange news to get, like especially from a high concept director like Chris Nolan, who doesn't really want making 3 hour, 3.5, whatever, however long that movie is. It's not really his MO,
Yeah.
It was just a lot of strange things to hear, and they fucking killed it.
Dude, they did.
Killed it.
And the fact that it did as well as it did coming out the same day as Barbie. Not even as counter programming. I think a lot of people like myself just saw both movies. Some of them saw it more than once, like Barbie, and both of them more than once.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who saw Oppenheimer in the theater. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and I remember I tend to go to movies alone because there's less obligation there, so I don't have to coordinate anything with anybody. So like I went alone. And the guy next to me also went alone, and the credits were rolling, and we were both like, we got to talk about this with somebody. So we just started talking to each other about it.
That's rad.
Never caught this guy's name, nothing.
Who cares? It's about celebrating Nolan.
Exactly. And he I freaking loved it more than he did. But he still was like, yeah, this was a great movie and all that stuff. But he would, how sometimes there's a gamble when you talk with other movie fans, and you're like, oh, this guy likes fucking Zack Snyder. Oh no, this is gonna go poorly. Or whatever. There was none of that. There was none of like he has this take that makes you go, "This is a mistake." Talking to you,
like talking to a Star Wars fan during a Star Wars premiere.
Right.
Like that's a fucking loaded minefield.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think about Disney Star Wars? And the guy turns to you with a gun in the theater because I live in Colorado. And it's like, whoa, I'm about to become.
What do you think of the MCU?
yeah, that's all you gotta hear.
Yeah.
God damn it, I'm talking to one of these Neanderthals. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Oppenheimer. I don't. Low expectations is definitely the wrong phrase, but it was just my excitement wasn't the same levels as Nolan's probably was for telling the story, because he was like jazzed to tell an Oppenheimer story.
I know. Weirdly, like it was one of his passion projects.
Yeah, he deliberately made a reference to him in Tenet. Like he was like, "This is my dude. I love Oppenheimer. I can't wait to tell the story. And I'm like, okay. Like I was like you. I was like, okay, dude. All right. I guess I'll be there day one. And I was, sure enough, I was. It was Thursday night. I went there. Sorry, Barbie. I saw you on Friday. Sorry. Sorry. Fake ally over here. But Oppenheimer, I just didn't expect to be so. I didn't expect to be so connected to the source material, to the material that they were giving us. Like there was a part where he, at the very beginning, he can't sleep at all, and he's having conversations with like his teacher and one of the Kenneth Branagh. He plays one of the famous physicists or whatever that came before Oppenheimer.
Yeah. It was like Oppenheimer's like not role model, but like hero. Or
he wasn't Einstein famous, but he was up there. Yeah. And like he would say things about like how he just can't stop thinking about the bigger picture of the universe, and how he just can't sleep because he's constantly thinking about, how big, how grand the universe is, and how ever expanding it is, and trying to solve all these equations while he's trying to sleep and stuff like that, like in his head. And not that I'm that level of genius or anything, but I do have that problem too. With sleep.
But we understand when someone's talking about something so big that no one had a concept for it at that time. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about a guy who was seeing from a perspective that like we'll never, we couldn't possibly.
But there was like something to do with, I don't know, at the beginning at least, the anxiety that he had was kind of driven by feeling almost crippled by what he knew of the universe and how big it is and stuff like that. And that's the type of existential anxiety I love to talk about and listen to and stuff. So like when they touched on that, that was great. And then of course the second version of anxiety that happened is after the bomb was created and had its test. And he's having that guilt-ridden anxiety and what can happen with the weapon now that he's created it. People are just going to copy it. What can happen to people that he cares about and stuff like that. Or even innocent people in front of him. So I mean, all that stuff, the humanity of it was what surprised me the most. I expected a spectacle because it's a Nolan, and we got one. And at least when it came to the Trinity test, that sequence was just mind-blowing.
It's cool, and like that's what's funny about that is like you've seen footage of it. Like you're a human being in America. Like somehow it was still extremely exciting. Somehow, and we've seen the real thing, but like I don't know, just the way that they built up to it and just the music and just everything all leading up to that key turn was just
I guess the absence of music too, because as soon as it goes off,
that's true. That is true.
There's a
Chris
pin
Nolan,
drop. Like I mean,
Chris
you can
Nolan
hear a pin drop.
knows when to take music away. Like classically in that moment in Inception, where like the freight train hits, and it's so scary because you didn't realize there was no music for like the last 30 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever.
It's true.
As soon as he's so perfect at it.
He starts taking over that. He gets into the car. It's raining out. As soon as they enter the dream, the music cuts. It's raining. They're all collecting each other. They get into the car with Fisher.
Rain,
It's just rain and traffic. And then you hear
boom!
Like it's just
car gets ran into. Yeah, it is startling.
It's brilliant.
He knows how to do that.
And God, it wasn't just the simplicity of taking the sound out, but you could still hear Oppenheimer's breathing and stuff. Like because he was the closest to the camera whenever he was in the shot. And you can just hear it, and you can hear some people rustling around too when they're some people are like laying down just in case there's debris or whatever, because that's going to protect them. And looking in like a mirror because you can't look directly at it. You hear them shuffling around to look at it. So it's like just you hear these things and they're waiting for the shockwave of it or whatever you call it. The after what do you recall that where the sound wave?
Shockwave, yeah.
Where it finally like you finally get the sound burst of the bomb. And boy, was that surprise. I just didn't, for some reason, my dumb brain didn't understand that's how that worked. When I went into the movie, I had no idea. So I was like, oh.
So when you see it in Helldivers 2, you're like, this is accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. It's so cool, man. That was just such a cool sequence. And everybody sharing that together in a sold-out theater. Like, just collectively.
Yeah, I saw it in 70mm IMAX, completely full. And, like, it was awesome. Like that sequence.
It was just silent, dead silent. Yeah, it was so cool. So that means you got to see Cillian Murphy's like balls and like.
I did get to see his balls. Yeah, and I got to see Lawrence pubes.
Her pubes. Lawrence pubes.
We're dumb guys.
We're dumb. There were people that were like mocking that scene, like, I'm sorry, that's just too silly. And I'm like, it was fine. It like I get they were trying to condense the ideas into one scene.
Yeah,
I didn't bother me at all. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a prude person who's like, I don't need sex scenes in movies. I'm like, I don't mind them. Like, people bang. They bang. People
bang, bro.
People bone, dude.
Yeah.
And that was their relationship. Like their relationship was like sexual, like, you know. So like that's
and he wasn't like he wasn't like a humble guy at that age. Like
he was a very sexual man, you know. So I feel like that, like you're talking about condensing a bunch of stories in that moment, you know, like that's part of the lingering effect of who he is as a person, is that he's kind of a horn dog, you know. He's kind of a player.
I like that the movie kind of alluded to when Florence Pugh's character, because she plays a real person that did die like very young. They kind of play out
pretty strange circumstances.
Yeah, like because I think she was found just like that in the movie, where she was like drowned in the tub, like but like that, and not so much in the tub swimming, or you know what I mean, like wasn't like an overflowed tub, and she was like, she just put her head down or whatever, and so like he played, at least I feel like the movie's playing it out in Oppenheimer's head, where maybe somebody broke in and killed her, and like and you never know. You never know.
No, you get that split-second glove, you know, in the scene, you know, which again, like, the movie's like from Oppenheimer's like perspective. There's a lot of like, unreliable narration going on, or his perception of how things are going and stuff like that. So like, it's a nice touch, because that is a long-lasting conspiracy theory. Is that like she was killed.
Right, like a loose end. She knew too much or something, because he told her things he never told his wife or whatever. That's, you know, the conspiracy, at least. And she was just super young, and it's just tragic. But there's also like enough known about her that I think people close to her or something, that she wrote letters that she might have been gay or something, and she felt shame for it.
Oh, okay.
Which around that time made sense, you know, like
right.
That was not a chill thing to be, so to speak. Super not chill. Anyway, oh man, so many scenes. Okay, so like Robert Downey Jr.'s entire existence in the movie is fantastic.
Yeah,
I think he's going to win an Oscar now.
I'd be shocked,
just absolutely kills his every scene, and I love the perspective change being like black and white for seemingly from his perspective, right?
Chris Nolan described it as black and white is objective and color is subjective, and like, that was the themes of the use of color in that movie.
Gotcha. So it wasn't just a POV, like, oh, it's from his point of view now.
I mean, that fits into it too. I'm sure there's a multifaceted, you know, a use for that as well, because it is a perspective change.
But you know, I mean,
the perspective of being objective and subjective is also, you know, again, like coming from, you know, Oppenheimer's, you know, perspective. So
I already proclaimed that I love courtroom drama stuff. So the fact that like the last hour of this movie is all interrogations and courtroom stuff, like Senate hearings, and I mean, dude, I was just nomming it up. It was just as exhilarating to me as all the action sequences in John Wick.
It was, Just a lot of really quick banter and just quick
especially
quick writing.
Jason Clarke, like again, Jason Clarke showing up in a movie as somebody who's grilling. So he plays a lawyer in that court martial movie, doing the same exact thing.
That's hilarious. So funny. It was his courtroom year.
But him. We're meant to take him, you know, because it's a subjective experience, being in the color. We're meant to take it as like, I don't think he's actually yelling those questions at Oppenheimer. I think that's Oppenheimer's interpretation of what's happening. He's feeling intense anxiety to the point where he's feeling like he's being yelled at.
Yeah.
But then if you actually like zoom out and look at it, it's like him just asking questions plainly. But don't get me wrong, he's being grilled, and it's unfair.
I mean, he's being grilled because like they're suspected he was a fucking Soviet spy or whatever, you know. So it's kind of a big deal, especially at that time.
You know, it was all Robert Downey Jr.'s pulling his character Strauss, his pulling the strings and like trying to get security clearance.
All the dinner table scenes with Strauss are really good too. They kept on meeting at that like dinner table or whatever. I forget where they were meeting, but they were having like internal, very secretive meetings, and like boy, just the dialogue is just.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
I was surprised it wasn't written by Sorkin. It felt like a Sorkin movie without like the whole sunshine and rainbows at the end of the movie, because he tends to do that a lot. Like this is definitely like a it's a awake, it's an eye-opening type of ending, for sure. Of like, well,
Dude, the ending is
we're all
so
fucked
choice in this
together,
movie.
guys. Like that's the thing.
Yeah. Well, just that when you finally get like the exchange between him and Einstein of what was actually said or whatever, I got fucking chills, dude. Like it was just it was so good, so earned.
Yeah, it was very much so. And and then the whole time, that's been the whole like kind of like central, I don't know, thematic combat, I guess, in the movie is between ego, a politician's ego and a scientist's ego, I guess. And like a politician's ego sees that look, that glare that Einstein gave him and goes, what did I do wrong? And it's just like, maybe Einstein just doesn't like you because you're just,
a politician, a shitty politician. Yeah.
Maybe it had nothing to do with what Oppenheimer said to Einstein.
Like, but he obsessed about it for years,
Exactly.
Yeah, because of his ego,
his point of view of what, Oppenheimer was as a person. Like, yeah, dude, there's so many things happening like thematically in the movie. I just love that stuff. I love like existentialism, like the whole, which is touched on a little, but it's mostly about like the world that we've kind of created for ourselves for the rest of time. Like we're stuck,
right, all birth out of death and horror, and
and how one man can feel that responsibility for how everybody has to conduct their way of life and business and politics now. And it's heavy. It's a heavy weight.
Daunting, daunting stuff.
God, I love this movie so much. All right,
it's fantastic. I don't know if it's number one. That's crazy, but yeah, it's fantastic.
This is gonna be.
It's done. What are you? Are you pitching Dunkirk right now? Our other number 2 movie of.
Against Blade Runner 2049. Come on. I am grateful that Oppenheimer is finally going to get Nolan his due. That's what it feels like at this point in February. Is that Nolan's going to win Best Director, Best Picture? I don't know about script, but like,
win it all, pal.
Win it all, pal. And it sounds like Cillian might not win. He was front runner for a long time, and then Paul Giamatti kept winning. So now I don't know.
Yeah.
The movie's great, by the way. The Holdovers is fantastic. It's just kind of like The Creator. It's a really, really good telling of a story you've probably seen before.
Sure.
Like it's a really, really good version of that.
Which is good.
That's good.
It's okay. Yeah.
It's okay.
Allowed,
yeah. And I get why they're like, oh yeah, Paul Giamatti, he's gonna win that, and I totally get it. Totally get it. I buy that he's a teacher in that movie. Like that's just a curmudgeon-y fuck. But it's taking an Oscar away from our boy, dude. I can't handle that. I'm gonna lose it.
Same. Yeah.
You don't take the Oscar away from Cillian Murphy. He's gonna look at them like this. Like I'm really upset. Yeah.
Or you go full Peaky Blinders and break someone's legs in the bathroom or something.
Peaky Blinders.
Oi. I don't know.
If there is a way to tell what the hell Tom Hardy is saying when he shows up in Peaky Blinders, I would love to know. Like, other than putting subtitles on, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy saying?
Well, he's had a whole career of that, huh?
Yeah, he has. But even in that role in particular, he's like, I'm going to put on an even thicker accent. And you're like, God damn it.
Tom, just talk, dude.
Just talk normal, bro. All right, so that's it for this episode of Current Cinema. Actually, I did want to go through the box office for the year and see what happened there.
Okay.
Because it is interesting to look at, especially because there's one contender in there that snuck in from December. But number 10 was Sound of Freedom, which was obviously astroturfed, and people just bought tickets and didn't go to the showings. There was a whole thing about that. Just go read about it. At the end of the movie, they say, go buy a ticket pay it forward, buy a ticket for a friend. But your friend doesn't go. So the movie's just like empty theaters. Whatever. Anyway. So,
the guy's a piece of shit too. So
yeah, apparently he had to resign from his post because he lied a lot. Anyway, number 9 was John Wick Chapter 4. Very excited to see that this made it this far for being like a 3-hour action movie. Number 8 is the surprise contender from December. It's Wonka. Can you believe that shit?
Yeah.
Chalamet, bro. Chalamet is Wonka.
Chalamet is Wonka, dude. That's one thing I know for sure.
Number 7 is Redacted, aka Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Okay, yeah. That's messy
That's
movie.
Unfortunate. Number 6 is The Little Mermaid. It's not that good.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, it's not.
You didn't want it to be a black.
And in fact, you
didn't want it to be a black mermaid, is what I heard.
That's what it is. Yeah, I did. Yeah, semi-racist.
It has nothing to do with all live action Disney movies being shitty. You know?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with the fact that it was 30 minutes too long. Why was it so freaking long, dude? It's so long.
They add more bad songs.
I feel like they definitely padded.
Because that's what happened with Aladdin. They're like, we added a couple new songs that totally suck. And I'm like, why?
Why did you do this?
Why did you need to do that? The songs were fine. You know, it's not
Aladdin's also, the runtime being less than 90 minutes is totally cool with me. Just stick to that, Disney. Stay in your lane.
Remember, these are movies for kids, like with short attention
spans. Yeah, for real.
You know, like, don't make a 2-hour movie about a mermaid.
Number five is where Oppenheimer ended up. So audiences, I'm just happy they showed up for it at all to this degree. Yeah. Like, this is the like Little Mermaid made under 300 million. Oppenheimer, all the top 5 made over 300 million.
Interesting.
So that's awesome. Number 4 is Guardians 3. It only made, I say only, but it's not chump change. 25 million more than Oppenheimer. Okay. So now we're like in splitting hairs category until we get to number 1. Number 3 is Across the Spider-Verse. I love like that these like, I feel like these are like ambitious sequels. Like, they demand a lot of attention. It's so funny
for a culture that's over superhero movies. Fucking lot of superhero movies on this box office
and franchise players too. Like, like number 2 is it's not our favorite. It's fun, but it's not our favorite. Super Mario Brothers movie was number 2.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fun. And then number 1 is Barbie, and that's like leaps and bounds above everything else. It's like got like 1 billion worldwide, so of course it's number 1.
Wow, good year for kid properties becoming movies, I guess.
Oh yeah. And for being like I know that it makes it sound like when I talked about it on Current Gen or whatever that I hated the Mario movie, but like at least it's not this movie making it was number 1 for a long time until Barbie. At least it's not a shit movie yet again making so much money like a Transformers or whatever.
Yeah, I would rather it than like Despicable Me 3, you know.
Yeah,
like
exactly. I'm tired of those. Yeah. I'm so tired of those. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy overall with this. If we don't count Sound of Freedom because there was a lot of empty seats in theaters, Taylor Swift would have been number 10. We can't allow that. She's got enough going on.
I'd rather the guy that nobody likes because he's an asshole than Taylor Swift. You know, not that we don't no problems with Taylor Swift here. She's fine. She's doing fine. She doesn't need like to be on the top 10. Like, she's got money. She's doing well, guys. You know, she doesn't need a call out.
I'm pretty sure all that money she distributed it herself. So it's all hers. Like 180 million. It's all hers.
Wow. Yeah, she needs it. She's hurting with all those.
She really is hurting.
Planes, yeah. She's fine, guys. Everyone, she's fine. Everyone, chill out.
That meme of her.
I don't want the Swifties coming after us. You know.
That meme of her like, oh, I got to go to the back of the plane and taking a private jet to go to the back of the plane.
Yeah, it takes a private jet to the front of the plane. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. She's a good guy, but she's okay though. It's okay.
She's good, guys.
I don't want.
She doesn't even need to say anything.
I don't want the extra attention.
People are like extra. She hasn't said anything political, and there are some people on a certain side of the spectrum that are like, bro, it's a coup. It's like she hasn't even done anything.
Yeah.
She's just out here, my boyfriend, catching the football.
Catches it real good.
That's it.
I heard that song.
Yeah. 13 is where Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 ended up, and that would not have happened.
Yeah, that is not the Top Gun Maverick, storm that I think that they were expecting it to be.
Wow, Aqua Bro 2 put it at number 20, above Mutant Mayhem.
I will never see that movie.
I know. I've had it totally legally downloaded.
Yeah.
Totally legally. From Warner Brothers. The brother from Warner gave it to me.
Yeah, Mr. Brother.
Mr. Warner. Warner. One of the brothers. And I'm still like, nah.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch. Yeah. The most inconsequential movie to ever be created.
Right.
We're gonna put out a movie that's a sequel to a franchise that died 2 years ago. That was canceled completely. Yeah, we're just gonna put that movie out, and.
Remember they wanted to do a fucking side movie. The Trench.
Yeah, The Trench. Yeah. There was like that one cool moment that everyone agreed on that was pretty okay. Yeah. We're gonna make a whole movie off of that.
Yeah. It was like 5 fucking minutes of the movie.
Like a 5-minute sequence of the first movie. It was okay. I wasn't like, boy, I want an hour and a half of this though. Yeah. Somebody at Warner Brothers is like, our finger is on the pulse. We are going to give you what you want.
It's wild that things didn't work out for the current leadership at DC. They had to have James Gunn come in. Yeah. That's wild. Huh. Anyway, so tune in for more current cinema every Thursday whenever
movies will start coming out, and we will start talking about them soon.
Not every Thursday, but you know what I mean. When stuff drops, I think
we have to talk about Dune. Like we have to do a Dune episode, right?
Oh, Dune.
Maybe not a spoiler cast, but like we do a classic episode with Dune.
Yeah.
We bring a top 5 or something like that. Yeah.
Dune, dude. Dune,
brother.
Chalamet is Atreides, dude.
Shia Halud, dude. Moyabdi, brother.
I'll probably do a solo episode of me making my Oscar picks on a website. And that'll be like my version of talking through the nominees as well.
Okay.
That way I keep that video. It would keep it under like half an hour for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay tuned for more. We do have more stuff intended. It's just, we do this when we can. And
we already have a 3-hour podcast obligation every week. So
exactly.
We sneak it in when we can, and the meaningful episodes are good. Talking about Dune is big. Talking about Aqua Bro, is probably, we don't need a whole episode.
Equally big.
That. Yeah.
Oh, we
equally
don't?
Big. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I read the room wrong. I'm
sorry. There's I'm trying to think of the other big ones. I guess Furiosa would be another big one.
Yeah, I mean, and like they don't have to be like blockbusters.
Civil War. Civil War will be huge.
Stuff that we're gonna see. Like Civil War is a good example of maybe not like a movie that everyone's gonna give a shit about, but you and I give a shit about it.
We care so deeply about that movie. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
You know what's funny? Civil War comes out. Rebel Moon Part 2 comes out the week after, so we should just do a double header. And
all right, I'm in.
Just
Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon.
Actually, when we finish Rebel Moon Part 2, we should come back and then do
I think we should immediately dude, if there was a way that we could like watch it and record our reactions while we watch it, that would be the dream. But I do think that we should start it together, watch it, and then immediately go and record a podcast episode.
Okay, that's not a bad idea.
Okay, just so we don't sit on it and forget about all of our qualms with it. Which
my God.
At this point, I've forgotten everything other than it's just a dog shit movie. I don't remember specifics. There was a spider girl at some point.
Knowing that we're going to record right after, I might be tempted to watch Part 1 and then Part 2 right after. I don't know why I do that to myself.
Yeah, I'm going to announce here, I am not going to do that. But
for the super secret director's cut version 24.
You don't want to watch a director's cut with 48 extra minutes of I don't have a word for it. It's just it's Snyder. All right.
It's like that Community episode of
Schmitty.
So good. All right, well, we'll still be on current gen, but that takes priority for us. Well, I mean, you game harder than I do. You game hard, dude. Game hard, brother.
All right, dude.
But that definitely the subject of that takes precedent for sure, and we love doing it. And please keep subscribing and liking our stuff on current gen.
Always comment what top 5 you want us to talk about. That's what. I would love other people to choose list for us.
Yeah, that's a fun idea.
Best movie with diapers in it. I don't know. Get creative.
Yeah, best movie with talking fruit. I don't know.
Best movies where a bunch of food products have an orgy. It's very specific.
Number 1 through 5, Sausage Party. Oh no, how do we do this to ourselves?
Number 2, VeggieTales. Did they fuck in that? I don't know.
Got to be one of the tails, surely. Yeah. All right, but this is my signature sign-off noise.